We need to, you've got, yeah. There, we all right? That good?
I think so.
Hello, everybody. We're trying to just figure out leveling the phone.
I'll go back further.
There we are. Chris's head's cut off. There we go.
Better. Hello. You were here before we were.
Yes.
How are things where you are? You're like the exact opposite to us, so. As far as weather-wise and everything goes.
Okay, we are good. Whew. It is stinking hot here tonight. Stinking hot. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's cold. Wow.
Well, I suppose that's not...
I'm not sure whether to wish we were cold or not.
We're really warm this week.
Yeah. I'm not... yeah, we were... when I drove to town today to pick up some cheese, the radio said we were 42 with the Humidex. So
which is pretty warm.
42 Celsius. It was pretty hot.
And up until the end of the day, it was pretty...
Hello, Little Garden Big Dreams.
Hello. Oh, it's crazy that you're already almost complete day ahead of us.
I know.
Well, not quite complete, but half a day ahead of us.
Yeah.
How are things? Got two people from the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. I tell you, I was wishing for snow today.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Well, okay, maybe not snow, but I was definitely wishing for late fall temperatures.
Well, that's just nice to
She's in the future. 7 Celsius. So, yeah, that's
pretty cool.
Cool. Pretty cool. Plus the wind chill, so that might even put you below zero, does it? With the wind chill?
That'd be quite the wind chill.
Yeah.
But, the nice part about that is it's usually nice while... As long as it's not raining, it's usually not a bad weather to do things outside, like building.
Yes.
So we always find in the middle of summer, building is not fun.
It's been tough. I think just kind of keeping going. It's just like you get outside and you just walk out the door and you hit this, hey, Eldan.
Hello. Long time no see.
Yes. You walk outside the door and you just hit this wall of moisture, I guess. For lack of a better, like it just coats you as soon as you step outside. Hey, Hitcha Chick, how you doing?
Oh, 15's not too bad. That's a nice temperature.
See, 15 is what I would like to have for 6 months of the year. I'd like my spring to be 15 from end of February until June, beginning of June. And I'd like my fall to be 15 from September right through till Christmas. Just give me snow at Christmas and...
That's a
few months of heat to get things to ripen in the garden.
That's a nice dream.
Hey, Caitlin's Family Farmstead.
Hello.
You guys, yeah. What was your temperature today, Caitlin Family Farm? Like I'm not sure if you were here yet. I was just saying that the radio was saying we were 42 with the Humidex today. And I think we're supposed to be pretty close to that tomorrow. Believe me, the sheep were having a hard time. The sheep were... We were just trying to keep them cool, but they got buried in the dirt underneath some of the trees and stuff and weren't too bad. But when we brought them in the barn tonight, they all had their mouths hanging open and panting. We actually checked everybody because we were a little bit concerned that they were overheating. So
they seemed all right, though.
They seemed to be settling down. They'd started to lie down to sleep, which was a good sign because they were just kind of pacing and panting, and we were a little bit worried.
That's completely fair about not going outside at 3 a.m. to see what the weather's actually like.
Yeah. Too scared to go outdoors, yeah. That makes sense completely. Yeah, Little Garden loves the wild one.
There's got to be somewhere in the world that stays that sweet spot temperature, climate all the time, but I'm sure it's in high demand if it exists.
It's just so crazy that we went from such a cool July. Like, it was really cool compared to normal, cool and wet, and now we're hot and wet.
When usually August we're dry, and we're not dry right now, so...
No.
Sounds like we're complaining about a lot. It's not really complaining, it's just
different. A plus note is I have not watered my garden all summer. There's been enough rain that we actually haven't had to water this garden, which is pretty good. Yeah. It always, when it gets really close, you think, maybe I should go and water. Like, the raised beds get kind of a little iffy. Anything in the ground has been fine, but the raised beds get a little iffy. But
some of them.
You start thinking, oh, we really should water tonight, and then they say, oh, it's going to rain. Hey, Bomber Steve.
Hello.
So Caitlin's...
we've got quite the assortment of people from
all
the
over here. Yeah.
Here.
So Caitlin says there's supposed to be 39 tomorrow. So yeah, I thought we're supposed to stay right up there. I think it's supposed to be 40 or something like that, and then yeah.
45 Celsius.
Oh my gosh, 45 Celsius. Well, what was it? The place where the what was it out in BC? What was it out in BC when the fires were so bad and it just like the town burnt? Wasn't it like the highest record high temperature ever?
Wasn't that in May when it started?
No, that wasn't that long ago that town burnt. I'm not to sound insensitive. I just don't remember what the town was.
I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
Anyways, it was sometime in July.
The dry heat's sometimes nicer than the humid heat. The humidity kind of, I don't know, can make it interesting, to put it mildly.
Mm-hmm. The weeds out of control. Well, we're lucky. Our greenery on our plants is growing thick enough to almost squash out the weeds. So
yeah, which is kind of interesting.
Our corn. Chris said no. Was that? I don't know. We were talking to somebody the other day about our corn, and I said it is like 9 feet tall, and Chris was like, "No, it's not." And then today you went out and stood beside there.
Yeah, probably.
It is just about 9 feet tall. I mean, everything is just so dense and thick.
So, have you been getting like more rain than normal for the season? Just out of curiosity, Little Garden Big Dreams.
Okay.
She's saying they've had high rainfall.
High rainfall, yeah.
Yeah,
well, that'll be good after a dry season.
Definitely 0 degrees Celsius in July is pretty. I know it happens in like northern Ontario sometimes, but for where we are, because you guys aren't too much further north than us, it's kind of very unusual.
And Eldan, that's so crazy, isn't it? The way the weather has just completely changed, because like you just said, you had 0 in July, and now it's like plus 40.
Yeah, and that's pretty crazy.
It's so hard when
we always say with the funnel clouds.
Yeah,
where we live, we've never had one since we moved here, but it does it so often where you'll see the clouds like 2 fronts hit. And you'll just see everything do the swirl.
Well, it comes off of the lake, right? Or the river. The St. Lawrence, it comes up to us, and then it comes
from the north either way.
Yeah.
But it always hits
right above our house, it seems like. We're out there, and the one set of clouds always dips really down low, and the other one seems to ride over top of it, and that's when you're standing out on the deck going, well, this is fascinating, but do we go hide?
I think Bomber Steve's got it right, though. It's just stuff that's been predicted and talked about for quite a while, and now it's just real. But it makes it, like, just looking at gardening alone, let alone livestock and everything else that goes along with it, it makes it interesting because it's very hard to predict anything. And you have to be based on some reasonable prediction. So it's getting interesting. I'll just say that much.
Well, and I'm going to say it for anybody that says that there wasn't climate change, something's going on.
To be honest, you could really say in one sense, anybody that denies that there was climate change is kind of false in a sense, because weather patterns change, your climate changes.
Yeah.
Now, the climate change that's the really severe, that's a different thing. But it's kind of a play on words and semantics.
Yeah.
But now it's happening.
It wasn't Fort McMurray.
Fort McMurray was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago, I think.
Because we watched. This was it was in BC, and it started with V. Oh, of course we're using my phone, so I can't even Google it. It was near. Yeah.
I should be able to remember, but I don't.
It'll come to me at some point throughout the live, I'm sure.
That's pretty crazy about spraying your roof with water to keep to battle the temperatures. That's very crazy.
Yeah. Sprays his roof with waters. Wow.
That's good though that your water storage is all full.
Maybe you guys remember the town that is. I
think there's been more than one.
Well, but the one that it just burnt in like
Vernon, BC.
That's it, Vernon. I think you're right. Yeah. Isn't that the one? Thank you, Caitlin's Family Farmstead. Either way, scary. And definitely when it goes from so cold to so hot and dry and wet and whatever. I mean, and we've had more lightning than we've ever, like, I don't think there's been lightning storms like this in years.
Well, we had a couple of years where we didn't have anything. But
Yeah.
I like Bomber Steve's comment because I kind of say this. Well, I say this about it's like wildlife and stuff, right? The speed with which we can change habitats and environments is like the blink of an eye, and even historically, you look at the changes to landscapes that as people pick a time frame as we spread around the world and we change environments, it changes how things like climate, species, all those things, but it was always done at a slower speed, so everything kind of had a time, including us, had time to adapt to it. I think that's the scary part, because it's like the unpredictability of weather. You're getting to the point where you can't predict the crop stuff, or what will do well one year and what won't do, or you're pushing boundaries and whatnot, and it's just a guessing game.
It's becoming more and more important, I think, definitely to have
volatile
diversity, because anything that you're invested in one sole thing, you've got a pretty good chance of it not working. Hi, Deborah. Sorry, I did see you. I meant to say hi. I didn't want to cut Chris off. And also, just as there you go, Eldan. I did make you a moderator so that you could share the link. So hope you wanted to be a moderator, because you're a moderator now. Welcome to the club.
The Blue Wrench Club.
The Blue Wrench Club. Yes. We don't have a lot of them, so.
Deborah's got an excellent comment too. Climate's always changing, and when it does, the Earth does too. I think I said that wrong, but same general. I'm reading and still read it wrong, but same general concept. But yeah, it's true, right? Things, everything changes. This is. I guess on our own level, that's why we got rid of cattle.
Yeah.
Before we got too far down that road, just some of it was to do with some of that sort of bigger changes that we have no control over too. But
yeah. Well, we've been very fortunate where we are. I'm talking about Caitlin's one here with the being evacuated. I mean, we're touch wood. We are very much out of the.
We're not. We are out of the recent history fire cycles.
Yeah.
But where we live is actually an extremely active fire cycle zone where there's been no forest fire activity for a very long time.
Just because of population.
Somewhat, but it's to do with it's like the rock barrens and stuff that are around us, the pitch pine forests and whatnot. That's why they're rare, because there has been fire suppression. So. This is the thing about fires. Almost anywhere has the potential, and probably, and I'm sure there are environments that don't, but a lot of the environments that we live in probably have a fire cycle. It's just, is it a fairly frequent one, i.e. for Ontario, some of the like jack pine forests and stuff would have been, relatively speaking, frequent fire cycles, or is it really long term? That's a whole another kettle of fish to get into.
I want to just put this so that it's open in another.
Oh, you can do that. Yeah. And again, Bomber Steve's exactly right. Things change, and you got me off the thing. I can't read the.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to. Anyways, there we are. You're back.
I'm back. But yeah, everything
Our little garden of the prairies.
much more gradual, and. But even down to your own level, like I think this is the thing we're talking about right now. We kind of went right in the deep end on some really big topics, but it still affects like down to your own site level, right? Because that's one of the big things. You can't just get there.
Sorry, I'm giggling at Janelle. You guys look crazy sweaty.
Oh, yeah,
it was hot, and we turned down the air conditioner so that it wouldn't be loud. And it's just like,
we still have it going.
Oh, it's still going. Loud. It's just not full force going. But it is so hot. We only have a little window air conditioner. I'll tell you, sometimes I would give almost anything for central air. But anyway, sorry, I was trying to hold in laughing that she'd said that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say she. Both of you, I'm sure,
The other thing, I'm going back to Bomber Steve's comment, takes thousands of years. When it does happen quick, it's usually catastrophic because there have been, it's still thousands of years, but yeah, those kind of changes are never good for the vast majority of
Yeah.
life forms.
The you're talking about the drought in Saskatchewan. My family lives in Manitoba, and
It sounds pretty crazy.
and when did I talk to them? That was on Sunday.
On Sunday.
And they were talking about just how crazy it is, how everything is dead, everything that was alive is eaten by grasshoppers, and just sounds, just yeah.
Oh, I think we may have to get rid of somebody here.
Oh.
How do we do that?
Hang on, well, yeah, there you go. No, yeah.
Couldn't-
Oh, Little Garden Big Dreams is on it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Where were we?
little bit dramatic there by somebody. Anyways.
Where were we here? We were.
Oh, you timed them out. She just got rid of them.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
Excellent.
Chris was grabbing at things. Anyways, let's go back
No,
up
that's
before
a-
that.
That's a good comment too. It's not just about things heating up. Oh, you were talking about the drinks.
Yes,
Yeah.
like no crops to combine, exactly. Very little feed for the cows. That's one thing that they said is buy your feed now because it's going to go up. That's good that you got some rain. My parents still haven't had any rain. They've been talking about it getting a little spit here and there, but you know, not much. No worries, Little Garden Big Dreams.
No,
It
thank
was-
you very much.
We could see it, but it was one of those things. It was like, we got to get in there and yeah. Anyway,
there's a tech that
we're starting to get. This is the second live now that we've had that. Somebody's come in. I don't know. That's what.
You know you're getting big.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we say. You know you're getting bigger when you've got somebody causing problems in chat.
There's a tech that runs off of heat differential. Solid state continental electric generation. I have heard of that. I can honestly say I don't know anything about the thermoelectric generation, but I have heard about it. It would be an interesting thing to look into. Run water pumps. Sounds like we have.
Huh.
Could be very interesting.
Yeah, we've made it now because we've been trolled. Exactly. Oh, you haven't made it until you've had a troll. I don't know if that was a troll. That was a little harsher than a troll, I think. But anyways.
Right?
Hey, James, how are you doing?
Yeah, it is what it is. It's over and done with. This is
Yeah.
why we have excellent moderators. This is why
Yeah.
it's like we go back, we say it over and over and over and over again. The YouTube community that, I mean, it's exponential, right? Because you're constantly meeting new people and there's a ton of amazing people. But yeah, everybody's kind of got everybody else's back on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's good for that. No, we will definitely have to see this setup and such.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It'd be interesting. It's always great to try and find different sources for things.
A troll party.
A troll party.
We need to, I know it's not trolls, but we'll need like from Lord of the Rings, the sword that glows when the orcs are near, but we need one that glows when the trolls are coming.
You have to send up some sort of, flashing thingy on the chat.
The trolls are coming.
Yes. But all in all, though, I guess going to our title for our thing of Now What, I think we're pleased with our decision on the cattle front.
And the tractor.
And the tractor. And Bilbo and Frodo's sword sting.
That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah, we're quite pleased with making the decision to get rid of the cows and just kind of vamp up a few other things and still,
It's not a vamp up somewhat, but it's also, what do I say? It's like, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like some things sound amazing and there's a grandeur to it or a romanticism, like you say, but then you just kind of look at the facts, I guess, the cold hard numbers, the inputs, all that sort of stuff, and you just go, ooh, that's not even that's not even feasible for us
No.
unless we had gotten rid of pretty much everything else. We could have
Hey,
done
Thorhaven.
it. But
Yes, definitely a lot of bored people. I don't know. I suppose it gets attention in some ways. I guess.
got our attention.
got our attention long enough to
But
get it out.
yeah, we are too, Bomber Steve.
Not.
Oh, you are.
No.
Yes, you are.
No.
Yes, you are.
No.
Okay, maybe not as big as I am.
Hey, Tracy.
As I'm wearing, it's not fantasy, sci-fi. But
Yeah, that's game. That's not sci-fi and fantasy.
still pretty cool.
Yeah, but you like Star Trek and stuff.
Star Wars. Used to be
Star Wars
really-
isn't.
It's
Well, I guess
still
it is.
sci-fi.
Yeah. I suppose it is. Yeah.
You can't say it's not.
Yeah, but I'd never watched it until I met you, and I still haven't watched it all.
Yeah, we gotta figure that out. But,
I know we've been together for like 8 years,
Hi,
and I haven't
Tracy.
watched it all.
Yeah, just kind of going down through the chat, but yeah, the cows are gone. It in the space of YouTube, it seems quick. Like all of a sudden, we just woke up and made a decision, and boom, they're gone. That's not really what happened.
No, it was a lot of deliberation and talking and going around in circles. I'm sure everybody has done it. You go around in circles and you talk yourself out of something, back into something, and out of something, and oh, the sleepless nights and the going, just whatever we decide, let's just get it done.
Yep.
Get
And
it
move
done.
forward.
And move forward, exactly. So,
Well, that's
but-
kind of cool. Not homestead relating, but the Dune movie. You've never seen the original
What's
one, probably.
Dune?
Dune science fiction. It's pretty good. It's different,
Wow.
but it's
So
pretty
I've got to
good.
watch, this will be like everything else. I got to watch the first one before I can watch the, what was the one you made us? Actually, I shouldn't have said not the Star Trek, because I like the movies, the new movies that you made me watch. I don't like the series or whatever it is.
Hand shot first. Yes, that's with the remakes. That's a big topic amongst Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vortex Valley. I'm going to say this, and I hope I'm wrong, because I hoped I was going to be wrong about the seed stuff. Because when I started doing this, I'm like, I'm going to save seeds, because it's going to get to the point that
You're
you
gonna
won't be
need
able
them.
to get what you want, and then that kind of came to fruition. Mind you, started in 2008, so how many years later was that? Over
14?
14 years, so that's kind of nice.
Hey, homesteading pasture.
But I have a feeling it's going to get harder for people to have livestock.
Yeah.
And I think livestock are going to get harder to get, because what tends to happen, I've said this before, but I've seen this, and I got into the livestock, the poultry, at a time when poultry was there was a little mini upswing when people were getting into it. And I've been through, in the time I've had them, or had the animals, I've been through about 2 or 3 of those up and down swings. And what tends to happen is you have an upswing, and then exactly like you say, people get rid of their herds. You hope
They
herds
break
are
it
blocked.
up
You
and-
hope they're going to people that are going to maybe try to keep going with it. Pretty confident, both in our goats and the cows, that that's the case. So that's a big plus. But it's not always the case. And so you end up, especially when it's a rare or the heritage type stuff, you get a lot of people that get into it, and then decide they can't do it, and they get out of it. And you end up, there's a bit of an upswing, some new animals, bigger populations, but then in the downswing, it actually drops further than what it was before.
Originally. And it's,
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's something that you don't see
Hey,
a lot of
Kylie.
information about, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's unfortunately, it's the breeds and the animals that kind of suffer from it more so than anything else.
and when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, and once they're gone, hey,
That-
Guten Yardning, how are
Hello.
you? But it is,
Getting right into the
it
heavy
is,
stuff.
yeah, we're getting right into the deep stuff. But it is really scary out west. I know, like talking to my parents and little garden on the prairies there. You know, it is going to be a case that you can't feed anything. I mean, I don't know if anybody else in here watches, but we watch Prairie Sunset Ranch as well. He's got a big beef operation actually out near my parents' place. And he was haying in the field, and he made
There's
a
no
joke
hay.
about the grasshoppers leaving him a little bit of something. And it was just like, I think he might have got 2 or 3 bales off of something. He probably normally gets 100. So that's really scary as to whether, hey Miles, whether people are going to be able to feed their animals, and it will have a knock-on effect for us here because yes, hay was great this year. We had a great hay first cut season, and there's going to be a real nice second cut as long as it stays hot like this. But the temptation is there to ship it out west where you can get more money for it, which is
fair. But then
no problem
this
at
goes
all.
back
But
to when you're
anybody who didn't get their hay on first cut here is going to get stung paying for
But
second
if you're
cut.
doing stuff on a smaller scale, this is the whole point of looking at it. Going back to what we said about sustainable doesn't necessarily mean you can do it all yourself, because the reality of it is, once you get into minerals and stuff, you can't. You're always going to be dependent to some degree, but the less dependent you are, probably the better going forward from in the foreseeable future. There's been some other good comments. We kind of get off on these tangents.
Yes.
I've never read the Dune books. I have a friend who did. I don't. When I read, I tend to read like information. I don't.
He does not read fiction.
It's not that I don't like it. I just never do.
No, you're more of a read encyclopedias kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of always been that way.
Yeah, but that's all right. He learns lots, and then he becomes a fountain of useless knowledge.
Oh, Tracy's saying that they can't get
Hay or straw. I saw that. Yeah.
That's pretty big deal.
There's definitely lots. It's just a case, like you say, if you've got to travel for it or get it shipped, then it starts to add up. But I mean, we've been blessed to have a very good first cut hay season down here, and people are already taking off second cut. So, but how much they're going to be charging for it will be the question.
I think they're having a bit of a discussion about Dune.
Okay.
I've seen the movie, but I'm not as immersed in it as I should watch it again. It was good from what I remember.
What about up for you guys, Thorhaven? Are you in as kind of a like?
Are you guys getting quite a bit of rain because we've been getting this summer outside of May.
Oh, it's
we've
just
kind of been getting tons of.
It's been a great the pastures just keep growing back.
I don't want to say too much, but it sounds bad to complain about that, but it's
no, I wouldn't say too much because it's the right where it goes for 4 or 5 days. 4 or 5 days, then you get torrential rain, and then it goes 4 or 5 days, and then you get torrential rain. Mm-hmm. But the worst bit is it really comes down hard. Like it's never done that. Like it just belts in and sorry, I was scrolling.
No, I'm just keeping up a bit too.
Read Dune. So apparently read Dune, Chris.
No, I should. That's good that you were able to purchase enough hay for
the next year.
Full year.
Yeah, you do round bales. Yeah, I remember that from the bull, the cow rolling the round bale. Just read the first 2.
Okay.
The first one at least.
Okay. Potentially do that.
Well, read at least 1 and then watch the movies. Because once you read the book, you can't go back. This is like, what's the book that you got me the whole series? Oh, anyways, Outlander. And I read the first book, loved it, and tried to find time to read the second and third, and then they made a stinking series about it. So then I watched the first series. Or first season, and then watch the second season because it was like, well, I don't have time to read the book, and it came out, and you're excited, and now it's one of those things I'm trying to resist watching the rest of it because it's like 7 books. Mm-hmm. But
that's pretty. Caitlin's family farm said that. Yeah, that's the thing when you don't get the stop in the rain, then you can't get it off. Well, you can get it down, but you're not going to get it dry enough. So that's.
That's exactly.
That's where the hard part of farming comes in, because exactly like you said, when it's got to be done, it's got to be done. That's the one downfall I would say to ungulates or multi-chambered grazers in northern climates is you do have that dependency on needing the hay, and it has to be done when it has to be done. But third cut's pretty impressive if they get that far. I'm sure we'll have.
Oh,
third
there's
cut, 'cause they're
already
doing
second cuts pretty much already
Yeah.
off on most of them. The other thing, hey North Shore, the other thing that we've actually
Oh, and
used
Trace-
a few times, and
Tracy's got a
also a tornado
tornado
warning.
warning,
So that's
too.
the second one.
tornadoes and fire. Yeah,
That's not a good combination.
Hopefully, you guys are still fairly far from the fire. I think, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
A lot closer than we are, obviously, but hopefully they're not too close to you guys. But yes, we did tag you. We'll be looking forward to seeing that Guten Gardening. No worries about inserting in. We just kind of keep going. So
Yeah, just insert away.
just insert away.
Yeah, you get tagged. Sorry. And you know what? We have that really nice feature now because you have over 1,000 subscribers, or you're monetized and we're monetized. We're able to actually do the proper tagging.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
figured
You were
that
our
out.
first channel we actually were able to mention with the tag.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Kind of neat.
Took us a minute to figure it out, but that's okay. I was going to say to Janelle there, it's interesting, but we can tell now that we know you guys, we can tell who's talking.
A little bit.
A little bit, anyways. Yeah.
But, yeah. No, we're good tonight. We're
Yes.
I don't know.
Trying to not melt. I'm sure you're in the same. You're not very far from us, North Shore. So Sean, you must be hot down there.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Although
Well, you're closer to the
lake,
water,
so maybe it's not
so it might
bad.
not be as bad, but
And
definitely hot here today. We hit 42 according to the radio, or with the Humidex, not our actual. I think our actual temperature was 36,
Yeah. Still.
35, 36, something like that. But Tracy, are you?
Well, that's kind of cool to do this, or what you're saying about do the garden tour and do the bit of a spin with the what we tagged you in. I think that's a good way to do it. That's kind of what we did. We kind of followed Plowman's example because that's sort of what she did.
Yeah.
But it's kind of neat to go around and you actually check on things that maybe you're not looking at as closely as you should be. But
Have we tried sprouted grains fodder? Yes, we did fodder for our rabbits.
so we do actually do sprouted grains.
Sprouted. Sorry, yes.
We sprout the grains for 3 days, sometimes 4 in the winter because it goes a little slower. And we do mix that into. We do grain feed a little bit, more so the chickens and that. But basically, that's rather than just straight feed them the grains, we sprout it. And like the chickens this year, we've completely switched out of. We don't use. I should say we did use chick starter when they were babies.
Yeah.
But basically, once we ran out, I think we went through 2 bags of that.
Well, we
all the
usually
birds.
for the first week we do the chick starter. Then,
And then we
do
start switching them into
we
the
do
the
both at the
grains.
same time, and then by second week they're
Pretty much
into
onto the sprouted grains, and it's actually worked really well. Now they also have access. In the case of the chickens, they have access to outside, so it's not they're not just getting out of the grains, but we do a bit of a mix. We did actually do a video on it a while back.
A while back, we've got
We
a
should probably
video
revisit
somewhere.
it,
We should, yeah.
'cause we may-
and you probably didn't. I don't think in the video you explained it.
I think I just kind of showed the process. I didn't explain it, but
Yeah.
we talked about maybe getting a bit
Maybe you
more
should do that in this week.
complicated with it, given some of the potential changes. Because we had it sort of simple. We had 2 mixes, one for the poultry, well, the chickens, and one for everything else. And we might change that around a bit, but we're not
But we
going into
actually
that
did.
right now.
No, we actually did do the sprouting grains to the point of wheatgrass for the rabbits. We're talking about doing that maybe for the
The pigs.
the
would
pigs,
work well.
but
Um,
we there's a lot of discussion going on.
yes, there's been tons.
North Shore, stupid hot here today, bad air. Yeah, we did
had
a
that.
drove. Well, when we drove to Al Dan's place and around the block, kind of on the weekend, we were surprised as we drove down the 401 how it got heat. Like
You get the haze from
Holy.
the smoke in western.
Yeah. where we
Northwestern
do have a bit
Ontario.
of it up here, but you don't notice it as
There's been
bad.
there's been a few days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But if you can get the cows and the pigs into the pool.
Well, it's funny because our Kuni pigs, we actually do have a pool. It's one of those kids, it's like
Sandbox
the frog
things.
sandboxes or turtle
Oh, yeah.
sandboxes. We need to get some more of them because they're not hard on them, but they just like lay in it all day.
It's really really cute because the piglets have a little one, and they all lie in their little pool. They're already I'm loving the piglets. I never thought I would say I could be a pig farmer, but I could be a cooney pig farmer because they are, yeah, absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough about the wonderful cooney pigs.
Is your tooth doing better today than it was
yesterday?
Yesterday, no, it was yesterday. The days go by so quickly, but hopefully it's doing a little bit better. That's never fun. Tooth problems.
Our temp. Sorry, Mentis.
I can't do it.
Our temperature today was Celsius. We were 36 or 30. It was either 35 or 36, but with the humidex or humidity, it was 42 Celsius, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. And of course, we're on my phone, so I can't do the quick Google. Hey, doing things different.
Hello.
And
How are you
Farmer
guys?
Sun Prepping.
We haven't.
Good to see you.
I haven't caught up with you guys in a bit, but we're starting. I'm going to say this. And
Don't say it. It's going to jinx it.
Well,
things are slowing down.
They're not because we're about this close to starting to harvest from the gardens and stuff.
Where's my pot of?
I can show and tell time.
Show and tell.
This wasn't from the garden, but
this was we picked a bowl of blackberries out in the sheep pasture today. That was kind of exciting. We went out. They cleared up all the.
You could actually get at it.
Yeah, the grass and stuff around them. We were picking them out of there because they eventually, the ones in the pasture, they will kill them off. So.
But we have a lot.
But we have a lot of them. That was just one pasture of the 5, and there's so many blackberries in them all. And we taste tested. We went, as we walked around, half the trees, the apples are falling onto the ground. So I have to get out there and do some apple stuff, collecting to do apple jelly and sauce and juice, but it's just time. So good thing we have a lot of animals that are going to eat it.
And you picked the same amount of raraspberries off the raspberries.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much we've picked. But
I thought you were going to show our squash. That's what I thought you were going to show.
Where are they?
On the wood stove.
Oh, I'll grab them.
Because we've been tracking the how much food we bring in and weighing everything, it's been really, really interesting to see the last 3 or 4 days. So I picked all of these today.
And there's a lot more coming.
Super, super pleased with that. So these guys, they're crooked neck squash, and they chop up awesome for in the freezer. I usually just chop them up into little cubes, and I freeze them on a cookie sheet, and then I just bung them in a bag so that I can just grab handfuls at a time when I'm making stir fries or pasta sauce or anything like that. So we actually have probably
more of these than we need.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about how many are growing on it, but it's good because last year, since they did that, and they froze so well, I'm planning to freeze a lot of them this year.
Well, that's something we like about them because they're our pick over zucchini, because we find these are a little more versatile for storing. Even though they're still a summer squash, they you can do a lot more with them. But North Shore wants to borrow a bowl of blackberries.
If I can figure out a way to ship them to you, because there are, I mean, that was what we went out and picked for maybe 15 minutes.
Probably about that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably about.
That's just round one. There's tons more.
Well, and there was tons more on those plants, which they've just started. This heat has really made everything pop and go fast.
We were actually talking about doing. I think you were going to do a apple blackberry applesauce
with blackberries mixed in. That's my plan. I did apple raspberry sauce, and basically we eat applesauce like it's going out of fashion, so we could go through 2 jars a day easy. So
this one, that was the one on top. I suppose a duck or
a swan
shorebird or something. Sandpiper.
That's kind of funny. Favorite apple variety? I don't know if any of them are actually varieties out there. Like, I can't tell what they are. Alex named our one tree Tiny Jim or Tiny Tim apples. And they're the really nice juice apples. But Then we've got a couple others that seem like a Red Delicious, or at least a hybrid of a Red Delicious with something.
I don't know though if I was to pick an apple variety, what one I like the best.
I like the Golden Delicious. I do like them. I think that's what that tree is that fell in the backyard. Or at least part Golden Delicious. Same as North Shore there. Golden Delicious, definitely, all the way. Not a fan of...
I like as a conventional one. I do actually like Spartans and Gallows.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it's the Spartans, the one that stores longer and they're better later in the season, like later in the winter, but I could have that backwards.
Yeah.
But for more conventional type stuff.
So Homesteading Pastor saying 96 for 36. That sounds about right, because I'm pretty sure your body temperature is supposed to be 96.8 or 36.
Or are we 98.6?
Oh, I don't know. Anyways, I don't remember facts like you do. But anyways, it's hot. Hence the glossy, we're trying not to sweat like mad. Disco duck. Sing it, Chris.
Oh, I don't think I can't do
disco.
I can do voices,
Disco
but I can't really do Donald.
Donald
like
does disco duck?
Well, it's a Donald-like voice. It's not actually Donald, but see, I think it looks like an avocet.
Hey, Best Yet Journey.
If you take off
Sorry,
the body.
we are behind in the chat, so didn't mean to not say hi right when you came in.
Make sure they make a curious comment. Vortex Valley's comment about saving seeds. You mean like the plant or the actual seeds viability? Because we have found, I should say we have found when we get a variety of something, when we save the seeds from it, the first year it usually does okay, but the second or third year they really do well. Okay. So there does seem to be, it's like those yellow crooked neck squash, like because we repurchased them because it got crossed and we wanted to start over again.
So last year they were store-bought seeds. We got some, but it wasn't
like what
crazy.
It is this year.
Yeah.
And I find tomatoes are definitely that way. Like the first year, a lot of the times I find you plant it and it kind of, what's the one, the Palestine tomatoes. So
yes.
we have a variety that we actually got as a free bonus.
In the seed exchange?
No, the Palestine was a free bonus.
Okay, it came in
I think it was, I want to say Cottage Gardener, but don't hold me to that. So we got that seed pack, weren't planning on it, read up about it and said, hey, this tomato actually doesn't sound that bad. So we planted it.
Thanks for coming in, Kathy. Have a good one.
Yes, thank you very much. Hopefully rest of your day is good. So we planted it because we thought the tomato sounded decent. And to be honest, compared to some of the things that we've saved seeds from before, the seedlings looked terrible. We put them out in the garden, they still look terrible. Now they're starting to produce, but I would say they're not as vigorous. But I imagine give it 1 to 2 years and the plants will be the monsters that everything else is we have.
Yes. Miles, are you talking about the crooked neck ones? Being that, like, eating this baby squash? Because we don't even take the seeds out of them when they're like that.
It depends what we're doing. When they get...
There's those ones I would, yes. Once they get bubbly, like that kind of bubbly texture, they're still soft. I can still squish them. But when they're bubbly like that, I usually find I have to take the kind of started seeds out. But those ones I wouldn't even take the seeds out. It's kind of like zucchini. They got to,
It's there, but it's not terrible.
Yeah.
You just you almost kind of feel how thick the skin is.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I went back up to that. Honey Crisp. Forgot all about them. They are very, very good as well. Good idea on that one. I think we're still going to potentially get some name type apple trees to add to the orchard.
Put some up.
Just put them up closer that we know.
North Shore.
Hello, Kitty. Our kitties always steal the show.
This is the entertainment in the background. The cats run up and down the cat tree.
Yes.
I think the one night we did it, there was a thunderstorm, so it was like the thunder and lightning or whatever, and the cats are still running up the cat tree. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. Do we make apple cider?
We've never
hard cider. No,
we haven't done that, but we do make just like normal non-alcoholic cider, and it's really good.
Yeah,
and we actually made quite a bit of apple juice.
Apple juice, which we just put in the freezer.
Yeah.
I mean, apple cider is basically just apple juice, but it's cooked, which gives it that different taste.
But the juice was really good too, because when we made the juice, it was very concentrated. So you froze it. it's not like a concentrate like what you get in the store, but when you thaw it out,
Thanks for coming in, Thorhaven.
you could basically water it down, and you could all double. Not probably not triple, but you could definitely double the volume. So you were reducing your
Oh, it
your
was
amount stored
concentrated.
in
It was
the freezer.
concentrated.
Still,
Yeah.
the apple juice still required the freezer. If we did the cider, you could can.
Well, I want to. Last year the frost came really fast. We started harvesting the apples, and then bam, it was frozen, and everything was mush. It just didn't, you know.
Yeah, they went once they got the frost. There was only a few trees that were good.
Yeah.
But then that's where it depends on the variety, right? There are a few that those late season apples. Since we don't know what our varieties are,
Yeah.
it's where it makes it fun.
The cat wants to show you a whole grooming routine. Apparently, this is like, his pre-bedtime cleanup.
Good night, Miles. Thank
Yes,
you very
thanks
much
for
for coming
coming.
in. I keep saying it. I probably will give you a call in the near future to discuss
Yes.
rabbits.
The grafting North Shore, yes. And we've kind of thought about that because we've got a couple trees that are like big old trees that we would like to sort of graft onto some
Well,
other.
we'd like to do both. We'd
Yeah.
like to try and actually get some rootstock and graft. The one tree that fell on our chicken coop still has some life left in it, but we'd like to take some of the stuff this winter
And put it on.
clone it, because we don't know what it is, but they're really good apples. But we might try doing some on rootstock and some on other trees, because we have quite a few, and we have a few trees around the property that the animals are fine to eat them, but they're not good. They're not good apple trees. They're more like what you'd think of as
Yeah.
crab apple.
Yeah.
And those are great candidates for grafting something better.
Something better onto them, yeah. I do not like the sounds of that, Sean.
Snow in late
Snow
October.
for late October.
It depends. If it's not going to stay,
Well, but
then
that
okay.
still means it's cold enough that your apple. Well, it depends. I guess you can get snow and it's not a hard frost.
Yeah.
But we're pleased at least that our garden is producing like mad now. So we're getting a lot. I mean, I've been canning like crazy, and we're putting a lot into the freezer already. So I feel we're going to be really set as far as the garden goes. As long as my tomatoes, if the heat stays, they're starting to ripen now.
They're just starting. Yeah.
But I mean, the tomatoes out there, the green tomatoes are just insane. I'll have to start making green salsas and
if
stuff.
they don't, they will. They
But-
always do. They just,
Yeah,
There's always that worry that they're not going to, but they do.
I know. But yeah, I guess it always used to snow. Like Halloween, it used to always be
I
snowing.
was going to say, you usually had frost and snow by the
Yeah,
first week in
but
November.
now the last few years it's just been rain for Halloween. So I suppose that's where.
Like the year we moved in here.
Yeah. Oh
That was
yes.
a lot of rain.
The
But,
day the year we moved was a horrible Halloween.
We'll let you guys know about the apples, because definitely would be up for that. What we tend to find is they're not all ready at the same time. So we have some trees right now that are, I almost want to say like they ripen over about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Some of the early ones, it seems to be about 2 weeks.
Well, and
where
we get
if you-
these crazy wind things where like then you just go out the next day and there's tons of them on the ground and
Well, but some of the early season ones, like if you pick off the tree, they're right now they're not great, but what they're dropping is really
Right.
is ripe and good. So it's kind of like a gradual thing.
Yeah.
But when it gets a little later, then
oh
they
yeah,
start
the
producing a bit
September
more.
in September we usually have tons of them because every tree out there's the early ones still have some fruit on them and the late ones have got
They're
fruit
starting
ready.
to really
So
go.
September sort of is our sweet spot as far as the apples are concerned.
Wasn't it
And,
last year we did? It was last year we did the video where we were climbing under the tree, harvesting the apples. That was the really good. Wasn't the Tiny Jim one that Alex said, but it was another really good apple juice.
Oh
one.
yeah, I think
And we picked all the windfalls to make apple juice.
that must have been the end of September.
That was
though.
buckets and buckets of them. But
Yeah. Well, and then I'd pick wheelbarrow. I'd take the wheelbarrow and just fill it, and just
bring it back.
yeah, load a whole bunch in there, and it works quite well.
Good night, guys. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
We'll catch you later. Hopefully, I didn't
sorry.
quite see. Hopefully, you actually got all the hay in, and it wasn't just you got some of it, and you still got a lot more. But hopefully,
Yeah.
that goes well for you guys.
Well, and hopefully this week doesn't cause
on
you
the
to
rain.
melt. I think next week is a bunch more rain they're calling for again. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's good for the pastures, but
Yeah.
we were actually chatting about that because in our going back to the original part of the conversation about the climate change and then finding that balance of sustainability, not necessarily self-sufficiency, but as self-sufficient as you can get. We were talking about our pastures, and we need to up our game on our pasture rotation for sure. But
We need more pastures.
yeah, more fenced pastures. We have
More
the land. We have to get it fenced.
Yeah, the fencing is the issue. So
Fencing's always the issue.
fencing is not happening in plus 40 weather. So
Not in any.
it's not happening probably till fall.
Unless we get a good
Cool snap.
cool snap or something.
But yeah, we definitely have. Yeah, we want to kind of expand on that. I guess I should have done a video of our 2 new boys that we got too.
Oh yeah.
I should have
There's our
done.
big.
Yeah, we purchased 2 new rams, which have settled into the farm pretty good. They're out in their little pasture, and
One's 4, isn't he?
3 and 2.
3 and 2.
Yeah,
So they're older.
older rams, but nice, nice boys. So
And they're
I'll
not
have to do a
related
little
to-
video.
And
So
they're not related to all the girls we have, so we should have lots of diversity in our sheep flock going forward.
I'll be honest, good yarning. I'm scared to call up the guy that we get fence posts from and find out. We're down to only 26 wood posts. Our dilemma is we need to buy the the metal posts for in between. But to be honest, the metal stuff doesn't seem to have changed all that much.
Not much.
As far as pricing, I think it's the wood stuff that seems to have really gone up, and we've started to notice we're watching Home Depot and all the
The box
lumber
stores come
stores and
down.
that to watch what their prices are doing. Pardon me. Because we have a lot of building projects that we want to get working on, and
We
so
need some wood, but the fence posts, I don't know. I think because we got them from my one friend, and I don't think he's changed his prices very much.
well, they were
less.
$850.
They were $850.
Yeah.
That was for
So-
like locally harvested white cedar, which
Yeah,
is
for
really,
cedar
which is really
posts,
good. Now that's not peeled or all that sort of stuff, but
No.
that's
We have to
okay.
do that part, but
Yeah, but the longer they sit, the easier that gets to be. So
yeah.
I think
So-
we did a video way back called peeling.
Oh,
cedar
it's such a
fence
funny
posts.
video because it's one of our ones that just keeps getting watched, and I don't get it. But anyways, that's
But it
all
was
right.
one that we when we did it.
Thanks for coming in, Sean.
Yeah, thank you very
Have a
much.
really good night.
We'll catch you probably on Saturday if you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back when we needed the fence post peeled, but it hadn't the bark hadn't loosened off, so had to more manually scrape it. But now all the ones we have
Just pull
left,
them
it's
off.
so seasoned it just falls off.
Yeah.
Which makes it really quick. So we need to get some more. But oh, no problem, the homesteading pastor. Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Well, to be honest, I
Appreciate
think
everybody that comes in.
this will be a little shorter live for us, anyways, tonight. I think with we got.
Oh, it's the calm before the storm.
I know.
The harvesting has just begun.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Well, but in between the heat, trying to get out there and harvest all the stuff that's ripe out in the garden, and you're just like, it makes it a tiring day.
The
But that's all
motivation's
right.
not there to.
Oh, the motivation and then you come back in and you sit by the air conditioning and you know you got to go back out and you're just like, oh, I don't want to go. Never mind starting up the oven and doing canning.
I think we'll be doing some of that outside.
Yeah,
In the coming while.
But yes, a trade. Well, for sure we can figure something out on that. So we'll
We'll
be
keep
in
you
touch
posted.
and let you know. We're watching them. Like we walked around today, and a lot of them, the apples were still quite small. But like you said, they're later season ones. They've still got another month of growing.
Before they'll actually be ready.
So,
yeah.
But we'll be in touch and we'll figure something out to do it. I think $850 is a good price for the posts.
Oh, that's for white cedar, because white cedar, I think the best wood that I'm aware of in eastern North America, I'm just going to use that caveat, is black locust. But where we are, black locust isn't native, so
There isn't a lot.
there isn't a lot of it. But the white cedar is like the next best, so it'll last forever,
Yeah,
which is kind of nice. It'll last more than our lifetime, anyways,
exactly.
which is kind of nice. You don't have to replace them.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of the one upcoming thing, I guess.
The fencing.
The fencing.
Well, and I think we've got some video plans coming out to kind of keep going with some of the changes that we're working on and discussing. We like to discuss with our viewers about it. It's nice to kind of run ideas off people and get feedback.
It's nice to run ideas off people, but it's also nice to sit down and have the discussion, because then you're thinking about it and then you're explaining it, and then I don't know. We think it's good to show the thought process, at least to some degree.
Yeah.
And it's not that it necessarily would work that way for everybody. Everybody's situation is different. It's just
yeah. Well, and that's what we tried
a lot
to
of thought into it.
We tried to get across with the cow one was it didn't work for us. It doesn't mean that it won't work for somebody else, but
No,
just
not
for
at all.
us and our situation and the other things that we don't really want to give up. I think that's one. I think
That's the balance, right?
we could touch a little bit on
the
it,
balance.
the pig side of it and
Well,
whatnot.
give the sneak peek to
Well,
everybody who's here. Of
it's one of those
what may
things
be
because
coming.
we did our little what do you call that poll on what people thought would be the best livestock to
The poll was
keep.
interesting
And it was
because
interesting because
we basically just did, for anybody who hasn't seen it, we did which would you think was it most sustainable, or I forgot how it was worded, but we basically said geese, rabbits, and pigs, with the kind of the intent that you could keep it going, supply some of the inputs, whether that was grow it yourself or
you both
pasture them or whatever. There's
or you could at least get sustainably grown and whatever stuff for them.
and the rabbits won. I think they were like 53%.
Yeah.
But the geese and the pigs were like a 50-50 split between it. Like they were the same number. So we probably will leave that sit for a little bit longer and see what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some ideas on what
On
we
that,
think,
yeah.
and we'll also say that it changes. It's like you change. It's just like an ecosystem. You change one variable and pull one plug or insert something else, and it changes the trajectory. So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
But it's definitely an interesting exercise to go through, trying to figure it out, and we want to, figure out what works best with the vision of what we want to do, but also what runs best together as far as livestock, and it doesn't necessarily coincide with what you'd think would be the most easiest to keep going or that sort of thing. So
Yeah, or
it
the
kind
one
of gets going that you go in circles thinking, trying to figure out what, the cows were a big obvious one that they just didn't fit in for what we wanted. So it was that one was an easy decision, even though it was a hard thing to,
It was
you don't
easy
want to
to-
say admit defeat, but
It was easy to run through the balancing variables and go, this probably doesn't make sense. It's tipped a little too far the other direction. But some of the other things that we're talking about, and I keep going back to it, we're even talking about some of the garden stuff doing the same thing. Like tomatoes, we experimented this year with more tomato varieties than we probably need, because we
more
wanted
tomato
to,
varieties than we've ever grown before, that's for sure.
yeah, and we're definitely kind of went into it planning that we were going to bring that back for next year, because we don't need that many. It's not that we don't need that many tomato plants, we just don't need that many varieties. So,
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
anyway, it's kind of there's certain things that I would probably say I'm not willing to give up on.
We both have that, though.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah. I'd like to,
I think that's a good point. They're huge. A big part of it for sure.
I
Even
agree.
when I'm going to say this, and we're not cattle people. We've both been around cows in the past, but never had them. And even when they are well behaved, like you still run the risk of getting injured, even if it's inadvertently. Well, you even had that with your horse
oh, I know.
when she stepped on your foot.
I know,
And it was
she broke my
totally-
foot.
It was totally not aggressive, nothing, not nothing,
No,
but
she
it's
just slipped and put her foot on my foot.
yeah.
So it is kind of one of those things we just, yeah, that was definitely part of that decision, but certainly is, you know, we want to kind of focus on things that we can grow some of their food, because that's an important thing. We know we could not completely, you know, grow
Unfortunately,
everything
no.
for everything. So you're kind of trying to narrow it down to what parts of it do you think you could do, and then build up the other parts so that they complement it, but you're also not, you know, let's just say that something happened and you couldn't get whatever, you know, that you could still feed at least the ones that you were wanting. That's the idea anyways, is to develop it basing it on having
I think the best example was the sheep, right? Because
yeah,
we have the pasture space once it's developed, but we don't have the hay fields or the equipment to do the hay, and we
it's
kind of
not
don't
really
really,
worth buying them.
not at this point in time from what we've kind of looked at. So we are always going to have to purchase that hay, but the amount of hay we would need to run a sizable flock of sheep
Is actually not that bad.
is not that bad. It's just what we can put in there. Basically, it's the 500 or so bales that will
Yeah,
fit
that
in
was
the
one
lot.
of my criteria for the farm was we have to have all the livestock that we have has to be able to be fed over the winter with the amount of hay that fits in the loft, which is the 500 bales. So thank you very much for coming in, Vortex
Yes,
Valley.
thank
It
you
was
very
great
much.
to see you. I'm glad that you were able to hang
beat
out.
us to the live.
Yes, yes. Rabbits do well in barley and good hay. I grow it and they do well. That's awesome. And you definitely can. That's the one thing we said about with the rabbits was you could
That's the one you
definitely
probably could grow
grow
everything.
a
with a
good
bit of
majority of their feed.
Yeah.
Even like we grow a lot of things in our vegetable garden. We grow extra because we know the rabbits eat it.
Mhm.
But it's one of those. Anyways, we're not going to spoil everything, but there's some pretty good discussion coming up for a lot of our livestock and a lot of our choices. We haven't really done too much yet on the garden stuff. We haven't really even planned out
Except broccoli.
well, yes, except for we don't like growing broccoli anymore.
Decided that one doesn't work.
No, exactly. But oh,
I don't know.
I think that probably just about sums us up.
Yeah, we're kind of not super eventful this week, relatively speaking. Well, we are, but we don't feel like we are, I suppose.
No, it just seems like chugging along. What would it take to produce your own hay?
The first thing for us would be we'd have to clear
A lot of trees.
Yeah.
A lot of apple trees.
Well, it's more than apple trees, but
Actually, yeah, there's a lot of
we'd
scrub.
have to clear at least, probably to make it worthwhile, at the bare minimum 5 acres, and you
Yeah.
probably, if you're doing it, you'd be better to clear the whole 10.
Yeah, you probably clear the whole 10, but 5 acre. If we only had the sheep, I think 5 acres would probably produce the hay that we needed.
And then it's where it gets kind of complicated because you can do it by hand, but then that's time, right?
Yeah.
So if you're maximizing your time, then you do need probably bare minimum a sickle mower is a pretty simple,
And a tractor.
and a tractor to run the sickle mower.
Unless you're going to do it with a sigh.
Which you can, but
The one thing that I would
it's
say,
not scalable easily.
in terms of the sheep, and this is one thing that I was actually reading about the Icelandic sheep. In Iceland, they leave them out as long as they can forage in the snow. They leave them out, they don't feed them anything, and then they come back to the barns or wherever they keep them.
Right.
And they basically are living off the fat on their backs because they don't get any hay the rest of the winter until, well, they don't get hay, period, until they go back out on the pasture again.
I think that would be very, very hard to do here, though, because Iceland has better pasture, better grazing than we do. So
I
they're
definitely
coming
agree.
in-
But if you got your pastures developed in such a way that you could keep them out there, because like we've said now, we want to have it that they start going out in April
You can keep them grazing longer. Like I
and
think
graze
that's
them until
that's
December.
one of the things about even reducing the hay more would be if we can, like you say, if we could do April, May, June, July, August, September, maybe October, probably
I was gonna
October.
say we had them out in October last year.
Yeah, but the grass still has to be growing. And if you
No,
could
you just have to have let your pastures.
stockpile it. Yeah,
Yeah.
stockpile some, have a few pastures that they haven't touched.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the baling would be the other part, right? Because you can do what they used to do. There's a name for that, where they basically piled it, right? Like
Stoops? No.
can't think of the name of it right now, but they use in. It's kind of like a medieval.
Yeah, they make the
technology.
big pile that
yeah,
the
whether
rain
it's
ran
on
off of it.
or whether it's on a wagon or whatever.
Yeah.
You could do that. It's still time and manpower,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, the baler would be a bit of an issue. And then that's the other part too, right? You could get somebody, we could talk to somebody who maybe has a baler locally and see if they do it.
But you
They
still
might-
have to clear the land.
Well, you still have to clear the land, but then they might do it, but then you probably would be looking at clearing the full 10 acres because they'd probably take some of it, which is fine.
Well-
It's a great,
And sorry, I was just looking at what James had posted there about the using the weed whacker. And you said that actually about Chris. We finally got the what's that attachment called? It's not a bush. It's not a bushwhacker. Is it a weed?
it's a cutting blade. On
Like
a-
the
on a
cutting
weed
blade
eater.
for on the still weed whacker or weed eater or whatever you call it. And Chris was out there. We have a lot of goldenrod, so Chris was out cutting down the goldenrod, and
Where
he
the
was
sheep
saying
are,
with
if they
where the
don't
sheep
eat it.
are, and he was saying same thing what you kind of said about the weed eater there. You could actually like cut wheat or cut whatever with it because if you had the hay, you probably could do a.
For the rabbits, we could probably do it. If even the herd that we have, if that's kind of all you had, you could, excuse me, probably spend the time and store it. I don't think we could do it for the sheep.
Yeah. What was we watched somebody, it was actually quite cute. They did a YouTube video where they made the bales inside they put their hay, they cut all the hay themselves by hand with the things, and then they let it dry, and then they put they put the string, two baler twine strings into the Rubbermaid totes.
Oh,
Remember? And then they
full.
packed it and packed it and packed it as full as they could with hay, and then they tied the strings and they made little bales that they stored. I think they were rabbits too.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But see, this is, I guess, part of the conversation without going too deep into it. On one sense, the rabbit herd, we've always said you could actually harvest, grow, probably almost everything that they would eat. But you're not, like for us with the acreage that we have, we wouldn't be using that very well. I guess which is the attractiveness of like the sheep, right? Because they can go out for X number of months a year, and I'm not going to say eat for free, because you still usually have to give them something, at least as an incentive to
Come back.
get them from point A to point B. But they're going out and collecting it. It's that intensive versus extensive, and we're trying to find that balance, I guess. Because rabbits are very hard to do extensively with the lower inputs, because you're pretty much stuck bringing stuff to them.
Well, that was sort of the thing for us, was trying to kind of find that balance of freeing up time.
Flail mower. I've heard that. What is a flail mower exactly? I should know this, but I've heard it. I just can't picture it right now. What they are exactly.
When I think of flail mower, it makes me think it just shoots it all out everywhere. I don't think that's what it is, but it's what makes me think. Hey, Holby Homestead,
Hey
how
guys,
are you doing?
How are you?
More neighbors.
We have
Well,
to watch
we
your
call you
one
neighbors.
video about moving your chicken tractor. I saw that. I don't know whether that was yesterday or today that you posted it, but we just haven't got that far yet.
Yes, I keep telling Chris I want, because we're actually looking at doing a chicken tractor. And I said I liked how you did with the wheels for on the the trailer jack up wheel. What do you call that thing? Anyways, I really like that idea, because we're actually talking about maybe even trying. Well, maybe.
We've done chicken tractors in the past with varying success.
Yes, they sucked.
Well, there's
No,
parts
they
of,
sucked.
but what we'd like to do is kind of that combo of, as we're talking about pastures, is have something movable that we could put in each of the fence pastures that we have at the back of the property, because then you could move a group of chickens
Yeah.
through, which would potentially also, this is where it all goes back to this balance, that could help reduce some of their feed costs. I mean, we're already kind of getting there with them a bit, with doing the manure piles, and which sounds really basic, but it's amazing. You
Oh,
know,
how
food
much they
eat
do,
out
yeah.
of a manure pile.
So it's a different kind of mower.
Okay.
We'll have to
I
look
have
into
to look
it.
it up and see.
Yeah.
Um,
But we're yeah, we'd like to start trying to figure out getting some of the tractors in the back where we put the sheep and stuff to rotate, because again, we're trying to kind of figure out parasite control, all those sorts of things, and all of them work great. We can cut down those. Huh?
so is that kind of like a brush hog, maybe?
Must be.
Maybe it's similar.
Yeah, because our brush
We
hog
had
used
one.
to hit the. Yeah, we sold it with the tractor.
Too heavy. Yeah, that's what we found with the tractors too. Is you ended
Yeah.
up once you got any kind of predator pressure, they ended up having to get to be so heavily built that they weren't practical to move around. Which the trailer jacks is a good idea
Yeah.
because you can lower it. And,
But then I'm guessing that they're hard to pull around. I'm guessing if you're looking for the air tires. I'm guessing anyways, right?
well, the bigger the tire, the easier it would move, though, right? That's
Yeah.
the same thing as one thing we really liked. I'm going to say it from Justin Rhodes is his chickshaw design, right? Because it has those big what do they call it? Tires
No,
that can't
you don't
go
have to
flat.
pump them. Yeah, they don't
But
go
they're-
flat.
But they're big, right? Because the bigger a tire, the easier it usually is to pull it once it's
Yeah.
got some weight on it. So.
Well, we have the dilemma. We were debating on the chickshaw idea, but the problem I think would be back at the back. I think raccoons or things like that would just bug them in it. It's not really super protected to make them.
You'd have to have them in an electric fence.
Yeah, you'd have to put something else around it again. And the idea is for them to be able to go out and work the whole pasture after the sheep have been in it. But
Well, we even talked about coming up with a hybrid approach where you do something that would be movable, but you only move it like once a year. So that they're in it, they're out during the day, they just sleep there.
hey, Gypsy and Vanilla
And then
Gorilla.
you could move it to a different area the next year so that that small area of grass gets a rest. It's not ideal, but if they're only in there for the day, because the partridge chroniclers we have in a fenced-in area, they don't usually have a lot of.
Well, the other thing that I always thought would work
Predators.
really nice is, can you not get like what's on your lawn tractor, like your lawnmower, those wheels that you just you jack them to where you want the little thingy and then set it back down. You make your blade higher and lower on your lawn tractor.
Well, we probably could get something. Yeah.
Something like that even. I don't know, but
Yeah, the flat bottom
reinforced with sides. Well,
Yeah.
this is a thing. We thought maybe just doing kind of the skid style.
Well, that's not a bad idea. Make it enclosed from the bottom, and you just kind of pull it around. It's almost like a giant sled. That would
Yeah.
work too.
Yeah.
That's what I wondered with the smaller
Wheels.
wheels. Yeah, because like a trailer, you're not moving it on the wheel. It's just sort of sitting there, right?
Huh, now that's a smart idea. You fill the flat
Oh, okay.
tire with the stuff. Huh. So we could just make them all non-deflatable.
That we should try that on our main gate because the gate we
Oh.
have has a tire, but it's flat because who knows how old it is. And yeah, we should try that.
Yeah.
Make
It's
it
a
so
big
that-
gate. It
When you don't
needs
move
it.
them, when you don't move it all the time, it probably would
Oh,
last
the worst
for quite a
bit. The
while.
worst bit isn't moving all the time right now, but
I actually really like the sled idea. I don't know why I never would have thought of that before, but because then you're still collecting. You still have a clean out, but you're still collecting it. But you can move it around wherever you want. So that's actually a really good idea. It may be far easier to.
hey, living the rogue life.
Hello. Thanks for coming in. But yeah, the sled type idea might be way easier to make
Move
movable.
around.
Yeah. We may have to investigate that.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't have to be very big because they're not being contained in it other than at night.
Well, and it eliminates, like, one thing we found when I first did tractors, I had ducks and I had a broody hen, and anyways, I don't know what I was thinking, but the raccoons would, like, they reach under it, right? So and you end up with skirts, or you end up putting logs around it, or you end up whatever, and it just kind of becomes this big cumbersome
Thing
whatever.
that's just
but with
a whole
solid
effort to
bottom,
move it.
yeah, but with a solid bottom, that would.
Well, Hollaby Homestead, we'll be watching for the video when you figure out what the better option is.
There is, it's, yeah, getting like smaller tires seems to be such a hard thing.
Yeah. I'm liking this idea of filling the tires. Liking that idea. Because we were thinking about for our wheelbarrow, switching the tires to be the.
Well, we have the one wheelbarrow with the tires would be on
Oh,
fixing. But
well, no, but I'm just saying you can't get the right size tires as non-inflatable.
you can. We just have to go and figure it out.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
haven't done that yet. I have to take the
He
axle off.
already has gone and bought tires, and they were not the right tires.
They weren't.
And yeah, so we've
I need
already
to take-
spent a lot of money getting tires for it that aren't the right tires.
Not really. Spent a little bit of money.
Like $50.
I just need to take the axle in off the wheelbarrow.
Yeah. Hey, Arkansas Woodcutter, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, that's a possibility too. This is one that's you bring up a big topic of like you say those other contaminants that come from. Well, it's like even I know pressure treated wood now is not the same as what it used to be, but you know, pressure treated wood, even there you're still talking chemicals.
Yeah.
I think even I don't know for I know that's a whole loaded can of worms too, but for like certified organic operations, there's a lot of materials that are pretty standard building materials that you're not allowed
You're
to
not
use
allowed, yeah.
because of that type of scenario.
I don't know which cat it was. What color was it?
The white one? Or the gray one? There was Tebow was on there before.
Tebow. I think that's who was on there. The gray one, he was up there, and then I think that's Ivy. Yeah, Ivy's the white one on the top shelf, and I think Tebow, her brother, was on the lower shelf. Well,
That's something we should look into a bit, because I have heard that before. To give it some preservative. I know we did look into it with the quote unquote newer pressure treated stuff. I forget the chemicals. I think copper was one of them.
Oh, the new brown stuff?
Yeah, because it's a lot different from the old pressure treated.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be as bad.
Yeah.
I don't remember what was in the green stuff that was so bad.
Oh, a bunch of stuff.
Well, yeah.
I think there.
You name it, it was in there.
I think so.
Yeah.
Although it's not as bad as when the creosote treated. That's even worse. But
Yeah.
a good wheelbarrow. Actually, I'm going to say it. 2 good wheelbarrows.
Hey, Samson Farm.
Is a great thing to have, because you can. This is what we find. We need 1 wheelbarrow
Arsenic.
for yeah. That's one of them. I think that's only one of the things that's in it too. I think there is
Probably.
other stuff, but we always find we need 1 wheelbarrow specifically for manure duty.
Yes.
'Cause
For
then
the
it doesn't
duty.
matter, for the
To take
duty.
care of the duty.
Well, because then you don't get into contamination of
Yeah. And then one for hay.
yeah.
And we
well,
like-
and everything else.
Well, yeah. But I like for the garden, like garden waste and for moving hay, I like the kind that has the 2 wheels. And it's a wide low bottom, and then for the manure we have one that's it's a big fat honkin' wheel on the front. It's a blow up one, but it's a big fat wheel that goes through the mud really nice. Because that's something that's important.
Yeah.
It's got to be able
They
to
are
cut through the mud.
It's an excellent example of where the hand tool, the non-mechanical hand tool, although it's still technology, but is kind of worth its weight. It's worth more than its weight in the amount of work that it can do for you. I think that's something. I mean, that's why we got rid of the tractor. It was more work to keep that going than it was what we got out of it.
No, it wasn't more work because we weren't skilled enough to do the work,
Wow.
which meant it was more money to keep it going,
Yeah.
to do the work that we did by ourselves because it wasn't running.
Yeah. We do the same as the Gypsy and the Vanilla Gorilla. We using it for everything from collecting apples to moving manure.
Oh, yeah.
Not at the same time. We
No.
wash it out between uses to, yeah, you name it.
Hey, Jules, how you doing? Good to see ya.
Yeah, hello. Sorry, I'm behind in the chat. I'm reading. We say this every time because we've got it set up on our phone, so the camera is right in front of us, but we've got the other computer behind
Over
us
beside.
so we can see the chat because we always get off in tangents. But,
So yes, no more cows, not even for milk. We kind of made the decision that we are going to attempt to milk our sheep.
That's the plan.
And see how that goes. But the big cows were not for us. We just are not, neither of us come from a cattle background. And it was something that they were really good cows, but they were big. And I wasn't 100% comfortable. I don't think Chris was 100% comfortable all the time.
Well,
And it just was escalating to, you know, this is where we're at with the heifers, and then if you've got to get a bull, that's something that's even bigger and more up here, or dealing with AI, which we couldn't do with those particular cattle. Anyways, it just kind of escalated to the point that when it came down to numbers on how much it was going to cost to feed them for what we were going to get, and the fact that we wanted the sheep and want to keep going with that, and we could supplement our dairy. We're not going to produce all of our dairy with the sheep, but
we kind of went through it and figure we can do, what was it? Was it about a third?
oh, and we're definitely getting a milking machine, Arkansas
Yes.
woodcutter. There, I did goats.
That being
There's
said,
no way I'm doing. Although saying that, I have milked them
the
to.
sheep, we've milked them to get colostrum out of them, and
For the
because
lambs.
Icelandics are not known to be a dairy breed, but they have a dairy history, and to be honest, they milk relatively freely. They're tiny, but it's not. We found some of the goats were harder.
Yeah.
Depending. I know cows are easier, but
Yeah.
the thing of it is they don't give you. How was the? You remember the numbers better. They give you. Was it 2 cups of?
Oh, well,
On a-
leaving the lambs on them, you get 2 to 3 cups per sheep. But a good milker of Icelandic can give you 4 to 6 cups. But we've
But they're
not
higher-
actually selected for that, so
It's also supposed to be higher in milk solids, so when you're making cheese,
it's supposed to
and
be
that,
good for butter and things. So
and you don't lose as much to liquid. Right?
Yeah.
It's the theory,
Right.
anyways.
it'll be an interesting adventure, but it was one of those things. We wanted the sheep and wanted to stick with it for fleece and meat anyways, so we figured since they can produce the third product, it didn't make sense to be putting ourselves into the hole. And I'm not going to say it was a financial worry, but it was a lot of money for something that we already had something that potentially could produce some of it.
But
so
it also was the sustainable side of it, because we were talking a little bit earlier about like the amount of, because where we are, we can't graze all year long. We can have a bit of an extended grazing season if we can get enough pasture space fenced, but the amount of input, i.e. hay, that we need to store to keep an entire herd of sheep, which we can keep as a genetic population to not become constant. I could go down this road for a long time. I'm probably not going to, but you can keep enough sheep to keep that going with enough diversity, and the amount of hay it would require doesn't kill you. So the inputs required to get the output is better for us in our situation with the sheep. We had the goats, really liked the goats, but we kind of made a decision. Why we got rid of the goats was they shared the parasites with the sheep, which is a problem, because the parasites is like the biggest problem with sheep.
yeah.
And 2, we were kind of like, well, we could do the cattle, maybe try it, get the milk, and not have the parasite issue. It really was kind of as simple as that. And
Yeah.
we just now realized that's not going to work for us. So
We're gonna try it this way and
we're
watch
thinking-
this space. It'll either work or
we're
it
thinking
won't.
smaller,
Yeah.
in both maybe quantity
Yeah.
and scale. But
I like what Samson Farm says there about being 100% comfortable with. Oh, and of course it skips. Being 100% comfortable with something makes you complacent, and complacency gets you hurt, which is very true. This is like what we always say with our rams. But I think it was just one of those things because we've been doing the sheep for 7 years.
You're a lot. You know what you're watching for.
Yeah, where I think if we'd come from cattle backgrounds, or at least even families that might have been interested in cattle, we may have had a little bit more of that confidence and the knowledge to be able to read them and do stuff and things like that. But it just kind of was one of those, we're going to stick with where we're comfortable, and I think it will work a lot better and be a lot more.
Dan's got a good point too. Technically, you could produce all your dairy, and this goes back to an even bigger thing, which, we've been kind of but throwing around discussing a lot is how much do you need? Because there's figures, like we even look at this on like the meat side of it. How much meat do you actually need? How much dairy do you actually need? You can find figures on how much the average Canadian or American tends to consume of those things, but how much do you actually need to be happy and content? And so we're not there yet. We haven't ironed everything out, but we're still kind of slowly doing this.
Evaluating everything.
It's a reevaluation. It's not a scale down. It's a picking the things that make, it sounds so simple when you say it, but picking the things that make the absolute most sense to try to get to a, not necessarily self-sufficient, but a sustainable goal.
Something that you can keep. Gypsy and Vanilla Gorilla, we've not actually had sheep milk.
We've had sheep cheese.
Yes, and it's delicious.
I really like the sheep cheese.
From what we've heard, the Icelandic milk is supposed to be very sweet and very creamy. We've not actually drank the milk from them before. Technically, I probably could, because a couple are still nursing. So I might be able to go out and try some. Maybe I'll try that tomorrow. Do a taste test. Let's do a taste test tomorrow. That'll be on video. This will be make or break, where we decide, are we actually going to do it? Can we drink it? But I mean, none of ours, because we weren't milking them, they're all drying up pretty good. But it's a durable provider, exactly. Well, and we like the fact that
they end up being triple purpose, right?
Yeah, well, from a prepping perspective, anyways, or like we're constantly trying to get our homestead to this magical la la land, I'm sure, of being self-reliant. And the sheep just make sense from a prepping type perspective, because I can make clothes out of them, I can make blankets out of them, pillows, not out of them, out of their fur.
Something too that we've kind of been contemplating on a smaller scale. We only have the 38 acres, and it's not all going to be used for grazing livestock. So you're actually less than that. On a smaller scale, I would say a good tip, and we may talk about this more for people if they ever thought they were going to get hoofed animals, grazers, you kind of pick one. Cows are great, goats are great, sheep are great, but having all three of them on a small scale is not really practical, because the logistics just start to get insane.
Yeah.
And then that's, like Jules is saying, the economics start to get insane.
Well, this is it. When you've got to have so many of everything, and you've got to keep it all going. And
we were talking earlier how this is just my opinion, but I have a bad feeling that what I said about the seeds. When I started gardening, I started saving seeds, because it's like eventually it'll get to the point that things are harder to get. And that did come to fruition, to be honest. And I have a funny suspicion that livestock are going to get harder to get in the future as well. Mm-hmm. So trying to maintain it as at least a semi-self-sufficient population, i.e. you may still bring in roosters and the odd ram or whatever, but having enough of them to keep it going for yourself, if you ever got to that point that you couldn't just get them again, is probably a really smart piece of resiliency.
Yeah. Well, and this is like where Eldan there is talking about just figure out how to do one thing completely off grid. And that's sort of the goal in mind with us, although we've kind of plunged in and done two things. We've said the chickens and the sheep. We want to develop the chickens and the I'm being a spoiler because that's coming in our vision quest. But anyways, the chickens and the sheep for us were the no-brainer. We decided that before we even decided to get rid of the cows. If there was a crisis, what are the things on the farm that we want to have no matter what?
But it's because of what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
i.e. the sheep are triple purpose, the chickens are dual purpose.
Yeah.
It comes to the fact that you can maintain a population of both and it not completely kill you.
Exactly.
They're not the only thing. Like I say, you could do that with a cow if you had the resources, but
The
don't milk the rams.
nope.
Nope, there'll be none of that going on.
No, although our 2 new rams are very nice, but nope. They're very friendly, I mean. I'm gonna go back also to the worm, using the garlic for wormer. We haven't tried the garlic, mostly for the fact that we didn't have a lot of garlic.
Now we
but
do.
now we do. This year we grew a lot of garlic, so we actually have been looking into that. And I think there's the cedar. There's a lot of things. I've got to look a little bit, like you say, the pine. We don't have a lot of pine here, but we do have a lot of white cedar in our hedgerows and stuff. So we kind of tend to cut some of that.
And we are also talking about using a secondary grazer to help. Basically, it makes it more complicated.
Jules, don't say stuff like that. I'm going to hide that one from Chris. I'm hiding it over there.
I can actually answer the turkey question. I used to raise Narragansett turkeys, which are a heritage breed, and they were amazing. They're amazing turkeys. They looked after their young. They were indestructible. The single biggest problem with turkeys is it's really hard unless you confine them, which then defeats the purpose of the grass-based or extensive raising of them, which Narragansetts are great for. You can't keep them where you want them. They jump fences, you can clip wings, you can do all this sort of stuff, and they just go wherever they want. What we tended to find was where they wanted to be was on your front doorstep.
Or the
on your car. So that we also found they were a little bit more expensive to feed because now that we've had so much pasture, they might not be as bad.
Yeah, at our old place, we just didn't have enough. They had to be confined in order to not be at the neighbors.
They need a bit more protein in their diet, so they're a little harder that way. And then the other problem is they have a tendency to just wander off with the wild turkeys. So it's kind of, that's why we went with the geese, because the geese don't fly.
Your cat's being funny. I keep seeing Ivy stick her head down. No, her head. She's trying to get at you, it looks like. On the egg front, that's definitely something we said was sticking with the chickens, because the eggs can provide you so much. And the one thing that's nice about the eggs, as long as you have a fridge, now you can them. There's other things you can do. A cool space. Like, we're eating eggs from 3 months ago. Like, they keep for a very long time, which I think is great from a perspective of providing you something that you can. Now, saying that, we have quite a few chickens, but it does seem to sustain us over. So the eggs are definitely something. And then we went down that line, of course, of, well, how much meat do you need? Because if you've got eggs and you've got this and you've got that, how much meat do we actually need to produce? And
you're basically going down the line. I say this quite often. You're creating.
We'll have to look for some of these egg recipes.
The farm it is a farm, homestead, whatever you want to call it, but you're basically creating an ecosystem between the perennials, the annuals, the livestock that you have. You're trying to find this balance where I think it's really hard to get to the point that you have zero inputs, but you can go a long way to reduce it. And I guess it just takes a lot of time and planning. And luck.
Where did it go here? It jumped.
Yeah, we apologize.
Sorry, we're trying to, then we have to go back. Living a Rogue Life, I'm talking about the raw milk in the freezer. I'm not sure if that's specific to
apparently the sheep
interesting conversation you're having with Gypsy and Vanilla Gorilla, but I was going to say that's one part we're very excited about the sheep milk, is you can freeze it and still take it out of the freezer to use to make cheeses and stuff.
Well, another good thing, and I saw a comment about do cows stop producing when it's cold? The short answer would be no. It depends. They have depending on the breed, they can have quite the lactation curve. So like,
if you're looking at the mini Jersey, you probably have you only have a month or two where you dry them off, right?
Well, there's some breeds that you can keep going beyond the year, but that takes, you can't do that, like where we are, you can't do that if they're just outside.
Yeah.
If they're exposed to the elements, eventually their body is going to start using reserves and go into survival mode, and they probably will stop. But if you keep them, I'm going to say more climate controlled, with a loose term, then you can keep it going longer. But that was something that goes to do with this lactation curve, being able to freeze milk, and essentially your most limiting factor is always time, because you can do things in very basic, low, low technology ways, but sometimes, just like we were talking about, hey, sometimes those take so much time that you should end up spreading yourself too thin, and that's another advantage potentially to the Icelandic milking, is you usually have about a 2 to 3 month period when you milk them. So we can potentially time that to compete less
Yeah.
with some of the other things
stuff.
like gardens and poultry and all the other things that
Hey,
go
Blends.
on. Hello, thanks for coming in. I'm probably way behind on stuff.
No, it's okay. I was going to say, Rogue Life brought up an interesting point about the glassing eggs can keep them fresh for up to 18 months. I need to Google what that's.
I should know that term because I've heard it before.
Glassing eggs. I know, and we're behind the chat.
Oh, is that
but
just the one where you
is that
put them
just
in
where
the
the-
water?
Is that where you put
in
them
the
in the
brine?
jar with the? No, I thought it was. It's not brine. It's something else. Anyways, we'll either have to Google it or maybe she'll mention down further about.
And we're terrible because on the egg front, we do pickle eggs and we do a few things, but we tend to not because our chickens, there's times when they don't lay much, but basically we're always getting eggs.
Yeah, they lay all year and we get a lull every now and then.
Even
So
they
that's
take-
where we backpile a few and then.
They take a bit of a, I'm not even going to say break, they stop laying when they're brooding and looking after chicks, and then usually a couple of weeks after they're done with the chicks, because they let us know when they don't want them anymore.
Yeah,
And they usually go back to laying. Like we have 2 or 3
Well, most
of
of
them
them are
now.
laying before they leave their chicks.
Yeah,
So.
so it's a really good little system.
I missed something here. Oh, doing the garlic.
We're gonna try that.
Yeah. I'm very excited for the garlic because we haven't weighed it yet. It's still drying in the loft, but I think we've got a lot, so we should be
Did
able
well.
to do a lot of things with it. Do this a couple weeks back. Had a garlic. Huh. Well, Chris does the whole, I'm just going to eat garlic to fight a cold.
Oh, I have a funny story about
yuck.
that. My one friend, this is nothing to do with the stuff that's going on now, but normal head cold. And he said, if you're just starting to get that feeling in the back of your throat or nose that you might be getting a cold, he said something that he does is he takes and eats a clove of garlic. Well, I had that feeling one day and I hadn't eaten
Gross.
lunch.
Absolutely
and,
gross.
It worked really well. That didn't get the cold, but don't do it on an empty stomach.
Oh.
Let's just say that a raw garlic clove or two on an empty stomach doesn't sit very well.
Glenn's, we just walk by the garden with blinkers on. Especially today I did, honestly. I harvested a few things, but it was 42 degrees and it wasn't happening. So I just kind of went like that, but it's getting out of control. Everything is so big.
But
I mean,
it's a
I
good thing.
harvested my crookneck squash.
Well, the first round.
First round anyways, and a few other things, and we had to go pick berries. We had to go pick raspberries and blackberries and stuff today, and it was just like, but yeah, the garden is out of control, and
a
I'm
good problem to have.
Yeah, I'm scared about how long it's going to take to get it cleaned up. Oh, and then we just jumped again.
Grr.
Grr. Holy cow, it was a big one. Okay.
Oh, the lime and water. Yeah. We probably should try that. We just never have because, like you say, they usually keep just producing.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking about that earlier because not everybody was in here when we were
Okay.
talking about it. But we've switched to our chickens now. It's not quote unquote sustainable yet, but we basically just do a sprouted grain mix, and we've been raising all of the chicks. Like we had 62 chicks.
Yep.
62 chicks this year, and we did buy one bag of the sort of conventional chick starter, the non-medicated. But after that, they're totally on whatever they find outside and
Grains.
the
Hey,
spread
Jane.
of grain mix, and they're growing really well on it. So you can do different things to tweak things to reduce your dependency. I know that's still dependent on the grains, but we've also explored some things that maybe we can grow a percentage of some of those ourselves. But that's a whole nother discussion.
We agree on the garlic stuff. We're definitely gonna have to learn a little bit more about that because now we actually have it. Definitely have to.
I'm sure they're long gone, but good night, the Gypsy and the Vanilla Gorilla. We're
Oh,
just so far behind.
we are sorry.
Succeeding with onions is awesome. This is our first year, I'm going to say, where we've done well with onions. We grew some, I don't even actually know the variety, but some red onions.
They were just ones we'd got in the store that went to seed.
I think I know the variety based on what the common ones are here, but we planted them out, got a bunch of seed from them, saved the seed. We only had that variety go to seed. Sprouted them this year, and it was amazing. From seed, they've done really, really well. Now we know some things that we need to do better to keep them growing, but I'm impressed with what taking
Bettina.
that from seed to
Oh yeah.
actually having an onion bulb.
Yeah, I've never had it work before, so
No.
I don't know if it's just.
And we also have found, because we've always done the onion sets, because we've never been very successful with onions up until this year. The onion sets do way worse than these ones from seed.
Yeah,
The growth
the
is
onion sets
totally-
that we got from the store all shriveled up and just went horrible, and are the ones that we did from seed are growing amazing, and they're still green topped, where all the ones that we bought from the store have died and shriveled up. I think it was just too wet, probably, but
Oh, Living a Rogue Life has a good comment about only using clean, unwashed eggs.
yes,
When we used to have ducks, that was a huge thing. You obviously did want them clean, or as clean as possible, but you never wash them because
She's gonna
the
dump
pores are. I mean, that. Sorry.
Cat is about to dump the flowers. Yeah, I'm going to try the Living a Rogue Life, because we do have a lot of eggs coming in again, and I still have a lot of eggs in the fridge and in the cupboard. So I think I'm going to try it to see. I think we should, because if you can keep them for a long time, why not?
That's a very simple.
Well, and the other thing we said, because this doesn't have anything in it, because see, eggs that we don't use, or if they get too old, like I usually say 3 months tops, and then we just cook them up and give them to the pigs. So the nice thing about this would be, if you don't use them, you just feed them to the pigs right out of the jar, right?
Yeah.
Really? I know that's probably, because they would be, or no, because they wouldn't be cooked though.
No, but you could boil them.
You could boil them, yeah. Anyways, sorry, we're having our own little chit chat here, but anyways, I'm very intrigued on this method of storing the eggs.
Yeah, we're very impressed with how our garlic did. Our music garlic, which was the one we had like the crazy. We bought was it 100 pounds?
We bought 10
10
pounds.
It's getting late. 100 pounds of garlic. We bought the 10 pounds of it, but then we also have some Siberian garlic. And Honey Badger's Homestead sent us some elephant garlic this year, which it actually did come up, but we planted that later.
Yeah.
So
I haven't checked on it actually. Hopefully it's still doing
it
okay.
bounced back when I took we
Removed
planted
the
it in
turnips.
between the turnips, and I think the turnips shaded it a bit, but it was very slow to start. And we'll see what it does.
Yeah. But we ended up of the 200 and what did I say it was? 280 bulbs that we planted, or not bulbs, sorry, cloves of garlic that we planted. We got 265 bulbs, which was nice. So super excited for trying some of it. And I think I saw Voon posted that her garlic didn't do so well. It seems to really be hit and miss, because some people have great years and some people have not so great. I think, we just lucked out that we had a great year for growing it. It was wet. That's one of the things I think, because if we might not have done so well if it hadn't gotten so much water.
I think the big thing for us, and it would probably be different depending where you are, was the covering it with the mulch, because we had like
Oh yeah, we had
a
good
huge
4 inches
layer
of mulch on it.
of,
So
of straw mulch on top of it, and it's amazing because our soil here is a little compacted. It's something we got to work on, but the soil under the mulch, it's amazing. It's not fantastic soil, but it's amazing the difference.
we need
after
one
the
of those
garlic we need
what
the broad fork.
broad fork. That's on
the
the wish list.
possibly going to happen sooner than later. 'Cause
Yeah.
we'll take some of the money we sold from the cows and buy a broad fork. That's a very good investment. And we apologize that we're so.
We're catching up
behind.
here. Sorry.
But if you ever do
Honey fermented garlic, yes, please.
that
So
would be good. I was going to say too, Rogue Life. If you ever do get out of the city, if you're thinking of pigs and well, if you're thinking of doing more than just raising wiener pigs, let's put it that way, highly recommend the Kunikunis.
Yes, they're very nice, very
not
enjoyable.
quite the same as most pigs.
Yeah. Oh, you got a big jump there. Holy cow. Hey, Southern Blessed Homestead, how are you doing tonight? Hopefully well. Hopefully you're not melting. We are melting here.
It's getting a little bit better now.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe it's gotten a little bit better. There's the fermented.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really cool about the elephant garlic. I apologize. I think we jumped ahead a bit. So if you missed somebody, just say it again. We'll get to you. But yeah, we're kind of excited to try it because it's not actually proper garlic.
Oh, now you jumped again.
I don't think I jumped too much, so yeah, it's gotta leave it. It'll just go when it goes.
Yeah. Buy a welder and build one. Yeah. Actually, it's funny because we were talking about Chris getting a welder today.
Yeah, I don't
because
know much about it,
some to make our make some hog panel, pig panel type things because it is one of those things that you'd use it a lot. You would use it a lot on the homestead. Well, it would have to be a portable one, but you would use it.
This is the hard part too, right? You always have infrastructure. Infrastructure is kind of that piece. Nobody likes to talk about it, but you end up needing a lot of infrastructure, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to figure out how do we, which was another negative to the cows because the infrastructure wouldn't have been usable by anything else. But how can we build our infrastructure for the most part that we could use it for any of the animals that we have to kind of reduce things a little bit. So welder could be in our future, but I would have to learn how to use one.
Well, yeah, but there's always that comes along with it. It's no different than buying an animal. You have to learn how to look after it.
True.
But Holby Homestead, we looked, actually Lee Valley does carry them. They're quite expensive. We're kind of been watching to see if there's anywhere else you can get one from, but Lee Valley's does, their one looks like the one that Quebec Homestead has.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched Quebec Homestead, but she had a video on her favorite tool, which was her, what is it called? Broad fork. And Lee Valley's looks very similar to the ones that she has. So I'm not sure if that's where she got them, but
maybe. No, it wasn't. She got them from a farmer.
That's right. She bought them from a farmer, but they might have got them from Lee Valley originally. But Mark said, I'm assuming that's on the make them.
On the making them, yeah. Well, it's one of those things. The more things you can make, the better.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. And we're really going down this line of, it's like even our barn, because this was another thing, going back to cows, talking about the cattle. We would have had to basically remodel the barn. I mean, of every big animal, it's like when you talk about capital, it's like that's a unit, right? And that unit needs X amount of space and X amount of infrastructure and X amount of whatever. But one cow takes a lot more space than, say, 10 or 15 geese.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Oh.
Smithing would be a good thing too. Your dad can use.
Yeah.
He does for the
my
stuff.
My dad's a farrier. Does the horses feed? He does a lot of blacksmithing type stuff, he always had a welder and everything, and yeah. But I never learned it because I was like, yeah, Dad does it. Why would I need to know?
Well, I know enough about it. I could learn with a little bit of help. But yeah, it's funny. I would say we are like the extremes. It's super hot. Depending on where you are in Canada, it could be that humid hot, or it can be the dry hot.
Well, what did
in the summer?
Now you're still going to be hotter than we were today, but what did homesteading pastor say? We were our actual temperature was 96.8, but which is 36 degrees Celsius. But
we could be wrong on that.
We're trusting we're trusting what he said. But with the Humidex today, we were 42. So that would put us at what? 100, I don't know. Hot. I really wish I wasn't doing the video on my phone because I want to look it up. But anyways, it was hot. It was 42 Celsius is what it felt like. I'm going to go back to Holby Homestead for 1 second and say, since you know how to weld and he wants to get a welder, I sense a date coming up.
A welding date?
Yes, it's a welding get together. You can teach and we will weld.
Bland says a great comment too about the welding, because yeah, when you get into the bigger animals, even to some degree, I'm going to say this with our rams, like they can hit things hard when they want to, but not the same as a cow or even a horse. Like your one horse used to bend cattle pens.
Oh
like
yeah,
it was
she
no
used to
tomorrow,
bend them.
and she
Yeah.
wasn't being bad. She was just leaning over it.
Thank you, Jules. 107.
That's pretty hot.
or Rogue Life says 97 is 108. So they're 97 and then 108. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty.
it
hot.
was hot today for Canada. Anyways, it was hot. I mean, not what the I know BC has been seeing a lot worse than this for a very long time, and I don't know how they're managing because, yeah.
Well, I know in various parts of Canada, like I know for where we were, May was some of the hottest weather. Maybe not the hottest, but it was the record-setting driest month of May
Ever.
for our area. And I know like BC has got record-setting high temperatures for the time of year. So this all goes back to the original discussion about, and this is it's such a journey, because you can't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to be sustainable and it's all going to work perfectly. Like it takes so much time and effort and thought and planning and finding resources and changing your plans because something didn't work out. And
Yeah.
but it's kind of all going
Or
back
changing
to that.
your plans because you just are not sure if you've made the right decision and you waffle back and forth all the time. Bettina, was hot and humid here today and it rained. Now, it rained here, but it seemed to make it worse. It seems even stickier now that it's rained. But then we were supposed to get thunderstorms overnight too,
We
so
didn't
maybe
we didn't get
maybe
it so
it'll
far.
come, because we had a little bit of lightning and thunder right before our live, and it kind of rained a tiny bit, but not much. So hopefully something comes to break it, but I don't think it's supposed to until Saturday. We're supposed to be at like 40 until Saturday.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. There won't be a lot getting done, and all my tomatoes are going to ripen, and it's going to suck.
Oh, we'll go out in the afternoon. You can get
Yeah.
that. Only 1 inch of rain in April. That is pretty low for I would almost say anywhere in the eastern seaboard, eastern part of North America. That seems pretty low.
See, Blands, this is part of the reason that we got rid of cows. We were so concerned. Speaking of which, I drove by the place with the bull today, and he's big. Like, there is no way we could have had it. He's out in the pasture, and he's big. Like, big.
Oh, the one that would, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not even 2, and he's big.
Big.
So I'm glad that we decided what we did, because we were going to get a bull from the gentleman down the road that has the same breed. And he offered us his bull, who was just coming up to a year and a half. And today I drove by him, and I'm glad we did not, because he was big.
Well, and this is another thing
Really
that
big.
kind of, I think, if you're already in the cattle business, because really cattle usually end up being a business, even on a small scale, and you have the land and you have the whatever, it's not so bad. But if you're trying to just have a couple cows, it's hard. The logistics, whether you're trying to do AI or you're trying to use bulls, or if you're trying to keep them purebred, then it's even harder. It seems it's. I think it goes back to what I said. If you don't have a lot of land, it's going to get, like, we're noticing around here. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling a bit, but we're noticing around here a lot of people are moving cattle.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's a case that
Well, I think they're.
it's getting hard
harder
to feed them.
It's getting harder to get them into abattoirs, and they're going to become a lot more scarce around here. Which, if you're still doing it, it gives you a good thing that you have that commodity. But
we delivered and picked up some sheep on the weekend, and
the
I
number of
honestly,
people shipping cows.
it was stock trailer after stock trailer full of cows.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere, it didn't matter which direction you were driving, everybody was hauling cows. So, like Bettina says, hay prices, I'm guessing, is the problem. It's going to be a shortage of, or if they're people that do the, put them in a, what's it called? A small pen feedlot. I mean, feed is going to go through the roof with what's happening out west.
Well, you got to
So
be able to hold on to them.
yeah, it's
I think living in Rogue Life. Are you asking where in Canada we are? We're
Yes.
kind of eastern Ontario, not too far from the St. Lawrence River. So
Yes.
By Canada
Opposite
standards,
side of Seattle.
by Canada standards, we're pretty
Yeah.
pretty southern. Not the most southern, but pretty southern. Um, 2000.
Polywire on plastic stakes. That's what we were using for ours, but it's kind of
It worked well, but
they were really good. Our girls were really, really well behaved. It was just they were big.
oh, the comment, the Bland's comment. Sorry, as my hand gets in there. The comment about your bull's really well trained. The other animals around here are not.
That's exactly our problem.
Yeah, not that. So the neighbor has a bull, and he's actually pretty good, but at the same time, the neighbor does not have good fences. So
And the neighbor 2 houses over has a bull
and doesn't have great fences.
and doesn't have great fences.
And those two bulls serenade each other every single night. So that was just another piece. Whereas when you have sheep and pigs, the cows don't pay any attention to them. So thinking of what your neighbor's doing does have a effect on it. And yeah, I think Bettina's right. It's hay prices.
Well, and Blands has touched on it underneath her comment there with it's getting scary. The price to feed them, you have to keep them longer because you can't. A lot of people, this is what we've said about feeder pigs this year. I mean, I don't know what people are doing because people
in our area,
anyways, people are going out and buying these pigs, which need to be butchered 4 months later, and you can't get an animal butchered for 13 to 14 months. So cows are nice for that fact because you can book them in the moment you got them on the ground, and it still works. But all these feeder pigs, I mean, what are they doing with them? Because
at the same time, like Lance is saying, it's nice to be able to process it yourself.
Oh yeah,
and that's where I think this goes back to the sustainability thing. I'm gonna open this can of worms because from a commodity / economic perspective, like farming to make money, and I'm not saying that in a negative way at all. So
yeah,
not at all. But in that sense, bigger ends up being better because a bigger cow is more meat for less processing, or for less processing. I'm just gonna call it that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing it on more of a subsistence, trying to feed yourself, the homesteading type, or even like real subsistence, like you can't get outside inputs. Bigger's not always better, and I think this is where a lot of breeds have fallen by the wayside because they weren't big, because they weren't quick growing, because they weren't whatever. And it's like in a situation where you need to actually be sustainable and not be completely scared by those, overwintering costs and stuff. That's where they're great. Like we've talked about this with the Kuni pigs. If you compare them to any normal standard sized pig, market hog type thing, they're terrible. They take too long to grow. They don't get very big. That's why people look at them and go, oh, they'll never make money at that. That's not, and it's like, exactly, you never will make money at it. But you can keep a few of them and afford it and still have pork.
Yeah.
And they don't destroy your land. Nothing against the big pigs, but it's just sometimes smaller is better, but it's all in how you look at it.
Yeah. No. Well, Glenn's is making some really good points on that. And this is something that we were so pleased / proud, I guess, that we pushed ourselves last year to do the butchering ourselves. And that really came out of necessity because we couldn't get the stuff into the butcher quick enough for when it needed to be done.
Well, and we did this spring, we did what, 5 Icelandic sheep and
2 goats.
2 goats, the last of our 2 goats.
Yeah.
And,
now, we've not done a cow, and that's fine. We're never going to. We weren't planning to butcher the cattle ourselves, so that's just would need more of a setup than what we have. Plus, you'd need a spot to age the meat and all that. So it would mean infrastructure that we weren't willing to spend on.
And it still goes back to for us having to have the tractor. Because
yeah, but when it came to even our Kuni pigs, even if you butchered them at full size, you're still only hanging a 250-pound pig.
And another nice thing about some of the smaller livestock, or even like we say this with our chickens too, you don't have to butcher it when they do everything themselves, and you don't need. I'm going to pick on the chickens. They don't need the incubators. They don't whatever. You can butcher them staggered, which is how they used to do it, right? So the pigs are no different. If you've got 5 piglets, you don't have to butcher all 5 at the same time with a Kuni pig because.
Well, this is what Blands is saying.
You can afford to have it stick around.
You can have it sit there and then, yeah.
Whereas I've raised full-size pigs, Tamworths, Berkshires. You can't do that. When it gets to butcher size, if you don't get it gone at that optimal time, it's costing you like the amount of land you would need to keep it alive till you could do it later is just it's out of the question, right? Without the inputs.
Yeah. Well, and that's
Still,
exactly
not that the smaller animals don't have inputs, but their inputs are in the grand scheme of their life as a small population that sort of perpetually produces you food. Their inputs are less, but they can't beat like a wiener pig, right? Taking it to the abattoir out, you still can't beat that because price wise, sustainable wise maybe, price wise you can't beat it, and that's why the economic systems are the way they are.
Yeah, and definitely all that still works if you're going to do it yourself. The big thing is, I think, what we've looked into, and we said this with the cows, we've done it with the sheep. We're booking in a certain number of animals every year to be butchered properly, so that you have the ability to give meat to family. And I know everybody still does it, but legally you can't even give meat to family members. Where we are. It has to, only people that can consume meat that was butchered on your property are the people that live in that household. Even if we have a guest come for dinner, we can't serve them meat that we've butchered. Do we? No, of course we don't. But legally, you're not supposed to. So it is kind of one of those, it's really hard to go down the line of keeping a sustainable flock or herd of sheep and pigs and everything and cows, and use all that meat that you're going to have in order to keep that. For example, you're keeping 3 sows and a couple boars and trying to keep genetics and stuff so that you're completely, self-reliant in that sense. Like if crap hit the fan and you couldn't get another pig for 10 years, you could still make it work, basically. So some of them will be processed properly, just to make sure that you could sell it or give it to family, and in a poop hits the fan scenario, who's going to actually be monitoring and legislating that?
You also have the thing, I'm going to say it this way, because I'm talking about economics. Economics it's not bad that other people run businesses and stuff. That's actually really good, right? So the small, I'm going to say local abattoirs are exactly that. Like, right now, there's a higher demand than what they can process because there are limits put on them. I'm not even going to get into it completely because I don't understand it all, I'll be honest. But they only have such a certain amount of capacity every time when they have a butcher day. So they're at capacity right now, but if everybody just walks away from that, then you lose even more abattoirs because you still need to keep supporting them.
In order for them to still be there.
You need the resiliency to be able to say, okay, if I can't get 4 pigs into the butcher, I need to do them myself. Right?
Well, this is it, right?
We're totally picking on pigs because it doesn't matter what it is.
Well, but even the sheep, we know we're going to have 15 lambs a year to butcher. We don't need 15 lambs, but that's what our flock is going to produce. So, whether you want to give it to family members or serve it to friends or whatever, it's nice to have some that is proper, and then we're going to do the rest of them ourselves in order to save a buck, basically.
Yeah.
And it is good.
And I'm going to answer Arkansas Woodcutter's comment first. How do they police it? They don't. It's all, it's the same as bylaws, right?
Basically, until you get caught or somebody gets sick, you're fine. Basically, but if somebody does get sick or somebody tattles on you, then
that's basically how it's enforced.
That's no different than how we ended up having to move out of our township. They were fine with it until somebody complained about it.
Yeah, and
then it's like after 8 years of being here and having all of this, you don't have to go because somebody said something.
Or they have to, or the chickens had to go.
Well, or the chickens.
And we chose the chickens.
We chose chickens over staying there.
Oh yeah, I'm not even going to go down the raw milk thing.
Yes, either, what was that question?
Yeah, no, he's saying they're arresting people in the U.S. for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here it's really tight.
I'm going to say this vaguely and not go into it too much, but there's 2 sides to this, right? Because I just said it's great to support sort of those local businesses, but not everything's a local business, and you growing food and agriculture, I'm just going to call it that for lack of a better way to put it, is the only, I'm going to go back a step, sorry, bear with me. Most businesses are based on perpetual growth. Every year you have to do better than the year before, better than the year before, better than the year before, right? That's the model. Technically, for a lot of businesses that I'm going to say aren't producing food, I'm just going to call it that because I know there's lots of gray area there. That could be acquisitions of new companies, that could be actual growth because there's more demand for their service, etc.
Have a good night, Holby Homestead.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you get to food. Food doesn't work on perpetual growth because land, sea, whatever, resources are essentially finite. But the economics of the biggest agriculture sector is still set up with perpetual growth and very interested in keeping that.
Yeah.
Which is where it's nice to build resiliency and some sustainability of doing things yourself. And I'm even going to say it, we go back to it all the time, it's like broiler chickens. And we're big into the meat side of it right now, the animal side, but it applies to everything because seeds are the same. But like broiler chickens, you pick up any book, internet resource, whatever, on how to feed your family chicken, the first thing you'll find, the first information you will find is the broiler. Buy 50 chickens, raise them for 13 weeks, put them in the freezer. Super simple. It's touted as, fast turnaround. You could do it 3 or 4 times a season, etc., etc. But what you're not seeing is there's no resiliency there because it's completely built on having to purchase those chicks. All the selection is being done by an entity, a company somewhere. And to keep that going, you have to constantly go back to that company to buy it.
Yeah.
It's all traced. It's
exactly. Put and take, not sustainable, Bland said. Yeah.
Yeah. It isn't. Put and take solely by itself isn't. I think when you get down to the homestead level, every homestead, every small farm is going to have something that they do that is put and take. But that's where on a bigger picture it balances itself, right? Because if you have 10 people raising 10 or focusing on 10 different things, just to keep it simple, and each one of them is doing one thing completely sustainable and a couple of things maybe not sustainable because they're dependent on those other 4 people.
You're talking about a community.
Well, but but it doesn't always have to be a community. It's just
yeah.
Not everything you do on a homestead or a small farm or to raise your own food is actually ever going to be.
Bland loves your term. You should get a shirt that says "Put and take, not sustainable."
Well, it really isn't.
I was going to go back to what Bland was saying about all the extra meat, and it's true. This is where we kind of have. We've sat down and said, because we feed meat to our chickens. We cook it and we feed meat to the chickens.
Certain things.
Like we feed the rabbit to the chickens or things like that. But we also feed our cats raw meat diet. So there is a lot of stuff that gets used up. I mean, we worked it out to how many animals we would consume. Our cats consume almost as much meat as what we will.
Which is something where we're not sustainable because we shouldn't have so many cats.
We shouldn't have so many cats. But anyways, it is one of those things of if you're producing, it's nice because they use all the waste product. We don't waste anything because all the stuff that we don't want to eat goes into the cat food. So it works out great.
And it's still not, and this is where it's also weird, kind of whatever too, right? Because you're still being kind of picky. If it was a moldy green piece of meat, you're not probably going to feed it to the cat. You're probably going to compost it.
Oh yeah,
but
well that's
and this is where this is the scale thing, right? When you're doing things on a smaller scale, you can control it more. I know you don't have the checks and balances of, I don't know, some of the technology that they do on the bigger scale to look for things like E. coli and this, that, and whatever. But you still have the ability to do it relatively cleanly because you're not doing 1,000 birds in a day. Right? So,
it's not pumped through at some sort of crazy pace where.
And I do agree. I'm going to go back to Mark's comment too about there still has to be room for the local, and that's the part that's not balanced right now. I'm just going to put it that way.
No, it's not at all.
And it probably won't be for a very long time. And this is again I'm going to say it on the livestock because unfortunately it did come true on the plants. It's going to get harder before it gets easier.
To get
So
it.
if you can, if you want to produce animal products, fiber, meat, milk, eggs, whatever it is, even draft power, it doesn't matter. The best advice I would give somebody would be try to look at things that you can keep a little population.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily that you're closed, never bring something in, but to set something up where you're dependent on something outside of your control is risky, in my opinion. And the more expensive that animal is, the worse that is.
Yeah.
Rabbits and stuff, maybe not such a big deal, but then it's also really easy to keep a population of rabbits. So it's almost like tomatoes. If you're raising rabbits, why would you not keep a population? Because then you don't have any of the headache of bringing in disease. And once you get it, you've got it.
You've got
right?
a closed
it's like
population.
tomatoes.
You're not
why
worried.
would you, other than to get new varieties of tomatoes, why would you ever buy tomatoes? They're the most dirt simple plant to save seeds from. That makes them basically 100% free to propagate, right? So I feel strongly about that sort of stuff.
I know you do. You're quite passionate about it, and well, you've influenced me because I was more of a meh.
Oh, I like the thing too about the artisan products.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to see that one come up.
This is something too
with
that I think applies to the keeping those populations of animals and plants. If the thing, like the broiler is unique for its traits, but it's not unique because it's universal, right? So, and you can't breed it. So you can't do that. It's not artisanal. It's not unique in that same way. Like us with our chickens, I would say our chickens are unique for their qualities without going through the list. And it's like those qualities, because you hear this all the time with rare and heritage stuff. There's always the articulation. It's important. It's important for genetic diversity. It's important for the future. It's important to keep it going. But nobody can really, half the time I find nobody really articulates, like, bottom line. Why is it important? Well, it's important because if that heritage pig or tomato or chicken or whatever has a production quality trait or produces a desirable product that fits into that sort of artisanal unique, it's unique. That right there makes it worthwhile. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't do it properly, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that uniqueness that it has is gone. But
have a good night, Boone.
Good night. Thank you very much for coming in. It's glad you found it interesting. We're just ranting.
We're just chit-chatting as we do. Going back to the raw meat for the dog, I think from most people that I know that have them do it, so I'm guessing it is a better, more inexpensive type method. I don't know for sure.
Inexpensive, probably not, but better. Probably.
Better for them, yeah.
Wow. That's interesting too, what you say about the maggots, because that is an old-time trick.
Yeah.
And you do have to watch to a degree because there is the potential to get things like botulism, but it's pretty low. Mm-hmm. If you're not doing it in a big scale. But yeah, exactly. You're producing a byproduct that we can't use. And that's the wonderful thing about, in my opinion, the most wonderful thing about chickens is, yes, there is the argument that chickens compete directly with humans for grain products because chickens are adapted to consume grain products. However, being an omnivore on a small scale, which is not you can't scale it up, but on a small scale, a chicken in a homestead situation around your farmyard, etc., can use food items that a human is completely useless to a human, whether it's weed seeds, insects, weeds themselves. I'm going to say byproducts, like when we cook the rabbit carcass and they pick the meat that we can't get off of it off, or they're converting that into something that becomes usable to us. Mm-hmm. So they still, and that's the balance of the sustainable, right? They still do. They are competing because you still, I know people say you can, but I do think you still need to give chickens grains. What those grains are can really vary, but that's something that they want in their diet. Not as the sole diet, but you're always going to have that competition factor, but then you have to look. I still get X amount of eggs and X amount of meat and X amount of chickens that are converting things that would otherwise be completely useless. Heck, they even actually eat poop. If you've got sheep or rabbits or whatever, they literally eat the poop and convert the actual waste product
into.
Would you?
The pigs do it too.
The pigs do it too. But would you put that animal in a cage and feed it manure? No.
No,
Hence
but they
why
go
it's not
out.
scalable.
But yeah, that's where it's nice, the free ranging type thing.
Yeah, it's where it gets really complicated.
Yeah. Well, that's where, sorry, Blance is saying about the raw food and the money, the expense of it. And I think it is super expensive. I mean, but if you can produce it yourself, this is what we find with the cats. I mean, we're producing it ourselves. It's really not costing us anything because they're getting a lot of the byproduct that we're not going to eat.
And we're saying byproduct, but it's not the same byproduct as what people think of when they think of industrial byproduct.
I'm a picky meat eater. I don't like certain parts. I don't like. It'll be really bad, but it's like chicken. We take the breasts out, and then I give all the rest. I debone it and give them.
That's not 100%
not all,
true.
But it's most the.
It depends on the chicken. When you do a whole chicken,
No, I'm talking about when you debone it.
When I debone some of the older hens that are kind of or
take
the older
the
roosters or whatever, we don't process them the same way. We usually take the breasts and the legs out, and i.e. an old rooster that was a breeder that you don't need anymore, and he's done his purpose. We're not going to eat it, but we take the legs and the breast out and make it into cat food.
Grind it for cat food.
Occasionally I'll take the
and hearts, livers, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that goes back to it's kind of like the old time way of eating meat or having meat through the winter, for example, was you didn't preserve it, you just went out to the or to the barn and brought it in.
Yeah.
I think that's where technology is great, because modern technology is like a freezer, even though it runs on electricity, etc. A freezer is amazing, right? Because you can do things that you could have never done before. So using that technology, in my opinion, is not a bad thing. But at the same time, the old timiness of, maybe not butchering 50 chickens in one day because they're all ready at the same time, and having a diverse flock where you just go out and go, okay, today I'm butchering 5. Tomorrow or next weekend I'm butchering 6.
That's the thing. That's where you end up with that problem with the broilers, because you bought 50 and they're all ready to go, and they don't tend to last if you let them. Aren't they the kind that get too big? You end up seeing sort of the broilers.
Yeah, they get issues.
Yeah.
Are you asking, Mark, about that? Is that the piece that you're talking on the thigh at the front, kind of right up by the hip bone on the chicken? Because the way I debone it, I actually do 90% of them. There's the odd old one that's kind of tough. I don't always get it, but I actually use a fillet knife, and you can you almost kind of like scoop it out, and it gets it right down to the hip bone, so it comes out with the thigh.
Is that big gob?
No, it's that piece of meat. It's the really good one, like
the real soft one.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. I think that's the one. I think we're talking about the same piece. So I usually do get it, just the way I open them up. Sounds real graphic, but
yeah.
But if you want to eat meat or animal products, it's unfortunately part of it. And something else I thought about the other day, and we've talked about this a lot, that I think gets lost in translation. If you eat milk products or meat, or even, I'm even going to say eggs, because eggs kind of get into that gray area, but somebody had to breed that animal to get those products.
Mm-hmm.
They don't happen if the animal wasn't bred. And this goes back to the population thing, where I find all too often people, they don't want to, I don't want to breed, I don't want to whatever. And it's like, but you're doing it to be sustainable, and you're okay with the broilers. Like, it's that false image of sustainability.
Yeah.
I'm not articulating that well, but there is something there.
And by no means are we doing broilers, because if somebody, how they do it, that's fine.
They're just a good example.
It's frustrating when that is touted as a sustainable way to homestead. That's all.
Yeah.
It does. What was it? The Family Guy grinds our gears. Oh. Chris and his Mario shirts. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I don't remember where I got it, but I like collecting T-shirts. They're awesome.
Yeah, you have quite a few good ones.
I do.
We don't go buy a t-shirt rack without looking.
Hey, you never know. Sometimes there's gems.
Yeah.
I've
Thrift
gotten a
store
few good- I've gotten a
finds.
few good ones from.
I know
thrift
you've
store
gotten a few
shopping.
good ones thrift shopping.
Yeah,
Definitely
which is kind
have.
of fun.
Some of them are quite. Never seen them
Yeah.
anywhere else, but. Wicked Awesome Gardening. Hi.
Hello. Thanks for joining.
Yes.
We've been on quite the rant
Rant, chit chat.
tonight. It
Yeah.
all goes back into the trying to be more.
Yeah, exactly, Blands. That's what we should actually do that as our first ever Hickorycroft shirt. Put and take, do better.
Yeah.
No.
No, that would be.
Put and take. Not sustainable. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, hey,
I don't know.
would do it.
I don't know if we'll ever do shirts or anything anyways.
It'd be
but
kind of fun. But
It'd be fun, but
who thought we
I
would
don't
have
know.
gotten
That just
to
seems like another thing that you got to look into and figure out. We're not merch people.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Says, she'd get it.
Pink, a pink one. I really want a pink visor with our logo on it. I think it'll be nice.
Yeah.
But I've yet to figure out how to do that. Like,
Get that done.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. But anyway.
It'll get there eventually. It's just I think the hard part with the YouTube stuff is we've been doing it for so long. And granted, going back to the beginning, like it wasn't sustainable, and I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we've been doing it for so long, and then we did our move, and then we kind of decided, hey, let's do the YouTube thing. And so I think we kind of came on the scene, and it's like, wow, these people have a lot of stuff, and I don't know. Are they thinking about sustainability? Are they whatever? And it's
Yeah.
like it's always been a part of it. It's just I kind of feel like there's a bigger push to actually
Hey,
get
Majia's
there.
Sanctuary Farm. I hope I said that right. Had to think about it there, but I think that's right. Hope you're good, doing well tonight or morning, whatever it is for everyone. Thanks
night.
for sticking with us so long
yeah.
there, guys.
We're
Hope
probably
you have a good
gonna-
night. It's getting close to
We're probably
time
going to
here
end
as
here
well.
shortly too, because otherwise we'll get into some other big rant about something.
Oh, I know. I know.
That will always happen.
This is Tuesday nights, the ranch show, talking about. We always seem to end up kind of rummaging through the same topics, but it always works. It's nice.
Well,
it's kind
never,
of.
but it's never exactly the same.
The one thing I
conversation.
do think though is each live, because we don't talk about a lot of this sort of stuff in our videos. Really, in your lives, you kind of know the people that are coming in, and you know their reactions are going to be, etc. But I do find that even though we're talking about the same topics, I think every live we get a little bit bolder and a little more ranty and a little more opinionated because you get more comfortable with the people that you're talking with.
Yeah.
As opposed to on a video where you're trying to make sure you don't tick anybody off. It is.
Well, true. We're always worried about that with the rabbit stuff, but
Yes, yes. Oh, sorry you got a headache, Bettina. We probably have not helped that.
Well, it's kind of cool that we're some of the few people that you guys enjoy listening to. I don't know. I think we try to. It always goes back to things that we're actually doing. Like that's the whole channel started as that we're doing most of this anyways. So let's video it, and most of it, like when we share it, is what we're doing at the time. There's a few things that we do, like when we did the rabbit thing. And that
Well, we
was
did
like,
the little
sit
rabbit
down and-
series of how-to type thing, but for the most part, it's just sort of sharing your life and what you're doing in that moment and hoping people, learn from it or
Well, it's like doing. It's like
figure out a way to adapt that to something that works for them. I
we
think.
did. It's like we did a different one. Like the rabbit one, we sat down and we said, "This is something we could kind of walk through what we've been doing for the last 6 years or 7 years or however many
Yeah.
years we've been doing it." And this is things that we've thought about and where we've gotten to with it, and et cetera, et cetera. And then this year we wanted to do one on the chickens and using the broody hens because that's something that nobody. I'm going to say this, and I know there are people out there that do, but most people don't do seriously. Like in that most of their chicken production is done by broody hens. And then it's like this year, all 62 of the chicks that we hatched were
Yeah.
broody hens. And if we wanted to, we could probably have more.
We just keep
Kind of-
taking the eggs
We're kind
away.
of not letting them because we're like 62 is enough for this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, when you, move things around or switch things over and that. But we just figured we'll just film what we do and how we do it. And it sort of sometimes feels like it's not very, what is it? It lacks that punch of being like, hey, you need to do this because it's whatever. It's more just like, this works, try it. I don't know. We're not very good at promoting ourselves.
Yeah, but it's not.
okay.
It's just kind of showing people how you did it and why you did it. I mean, we are overthinkers. I think we are thinkers, but we're overthinkers. And I think that's something that we need to get a little bit better with in showing a bit more of that in our videos on some topics, because we sit down and we have a list like 2 pages long of these deep, they're not deep. I don't know if any other fellow Canadians here, but was it on Saturday Night Live that they had deep thoughts with whoever the guy was that did deep thoughts with, what was his name? Jack Handley, or I don't remember what his name was. Anyways,
to be Canadian for Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live was Canadian, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, well, I don't know. Anyways, who cares? It was a long time ago. I was a kid, and I remember sitting and there was deep thoughts with Jack Handley. Thank you, Blance. And anyways, that's what we do. We sit down, and I'm like, we should just do YouTube videos on these deep thoughts, because every night, I mean, I almost set the microphone on my phone beside, because every night we lie there or we sit at the table or whatever we're doing, and a deep conversation starts. We're like, this will be an awesome video, and we just never do it.
We should do that.
Yes, we should.
And we need to have more comedy.
Yes.
I think we have enough comedic things that do happen.
Was it the 90s or was it the 80s? I guess it was the 90s, because I probably wouldn't have been old enough to
watch it in the 80s.
Yeah, I'm sure my parents wouldn't have let me watch it. But it's because Deep Thoughts with Jack Hanna.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Living a rogue life. I think that's exactly what happens, right? And that's the cool thing about YouTube is you get the chance to meet so many different people. Like at the beginning of this live, for example, there was so many great channels from Australia and whatnot that came in and were chatting with us, and it's like I'm gonna just pick on this for a moment. It's not a preference over anybody else's channels, but I always kind of like a lot of the Australian ones, because I find for us, we want it to be enjoyable, we want it to be productive, but we want the sustainable side of it too, right? And I find that a lot of the times you seem to it's hard to find people sometimes that have the same mindset to it. And I find that there more channels in Australia seem to have that. I'm totally botching the way I'm explaining that, because
and sometimes like what she's saying too, you move around because you start out with something thinking that they're on the same page as you, and then they're not,
or you change your direction,
or you change. It's definitely. I think that's the way it works around every. People bounce around, and you're drawn to what you're drawn to.
And it changes over time too, because it's like we were terrible in June, for example. Like we were not keeping up with anybody.
Oh no, June was absolutely insane. So now we're back to where it's like, okay, we could actually sit and I always say it's terrible, but I like when the nights start to draw in, because then I come in earlier from outside and I can actually have a few moments to do some stuff. But and we trying to watch a few videos and catch up with people. But I'm 42, so I'm guessing 90s is what it was, because I don't think I would have been able to watch it in the 80s. So I'm gonna go with it. 90s
right.
Comedy and music. That's where it's at. Hey?
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I have to admit, there was some late 90s music that I listen to now, and I just go, oh my gosh, it was awful. It was awful. But that's all right.
To everything there's a season. I agree with that.
Yeah.
We need to check in on more of the, I'm just going to say the Australian channels. It's not just Australia.
No, it's not. No, but there is quite a few there that, and they did it's nice too to follow. They have the same
It's completely different
vision, but they're
it's-
doing it in a very different way sometimes
very
than what
different
we
landscape.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
This has been a good conversation. I think
Yes.
this is.
it will be wrapping up here.
I think we
though.
should because I've got to work in the morning.
I know
That's-
you've got to work. You got to be up and working soon. But Matt and I were married young, so we've grown up together. Oh, that's awesome. So then you've both been subjected to all the same stuff. We didn't. Chris is younger than me.
Not that much.
You're 39. No, you're
38?
Oh, I don't know how old you are. 39. You're 39 because you turn 40 next year.
Cool.
40. Sorry. It's coming for you.
Ah, well. That's
Yeah.
yeah. It's coming.
Yeah. But
Ah.
anyways, we're probably going to say goodnight, guys, because it's getting late here. And
It's been awesome.
this has been
Thank-
an awesome chat. Thank you,
guys
everybody,
for
so
all
much for
coming in
being
and-
here. And yes, we look forward to trying to keep up with everybody over the week. And hopefully we'll see you next week.
And there'll be more discussion going forward. It never
You know
ends.
what?
It
Hey,
never ends.
maybe next week will be you choose the topic and we'll just have deep discussion
Well,
because
that'd
I
be
think
kinda
it works
fun.
great.
That'd be kind of fun.
I think that's what we should do. We should do an early, you do the posting for the video early so that people have lots of time to think about it and then people come in and give you the subject and we have like a timed discussion. Oh,
Kinda
that'd be fun. All right. We'll see what we can come up to with that. But have a good night.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to everyone later.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody has a good night or day or whatever it is, wherever you are. Evening.
Exactly. Bye for now. Deep thoughts with Hickorycroft Farm. Like that.
That's a good one.
Glenn's is in, so we're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to hit the button now.